All right, the house looks nice.
I know, finally.
House finally looks nice. All right, so let's go. One. Okay, well, I don't know if we're live yet. Anyway, all right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live, a Sunday tradition. I'm here with my beautiful, sexy, intelligent, sophisticated, amazing wife.
Hi, everyone. I'm Akdi from Turkey.
I'm so lucky. She brought the red hair out for y'all. I don't think it was red last week.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the lighting as well.
Oh, it looks good.
Yeah.
You look good.
Yeah.
Look good.
I feel fiery with red.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's about to be a fiery discussion, a lively discussion. So y'all jump into the chat right here before we start the discussion, which is going to be kind of all over the place. Who knows where this conversation will go? I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been checking out the movie reviews, watching the old content as well, keeping up the number of views on this channel. Like right now, I'm averaging around 1,300 views every 2 days or so, which is a good number. I want to keep the numbers up. I have a lot more content coming for y'all, so y'all stay tuned and stuff. I've been working very hard on other projects, though. As you know, I'm an English teacher, so I've been teaching a lot of classes. I'm also a writer for Culturalist Theory, so go subscribe to their channel and check out all the content that will be coming up from me with them soon, and more stuff that I have on the way for y'all. So y'all support that, check that out, stuff like that. More political content coming, but y'all got to ask for it. Y'all got to ask for it. I got a lot to say. Do you feel like I should keep on doing political content, or should I just do movie reviews, music reviews? What do you think I should do?
I think you should do everything that you have something important to say, because politics obviously is like a large interest for people as well. So, yeah, if you have something that you want to say, then say it.
I do have a lot to say about politics, especially this year, because we have a big election coming up. Trump and Biden. It's going to be the rematch. And it's going to be a very interesting year because this might be the last time we have an election if one person wins. And this might be the last time we have the oldest president ever if another guy wins. Because I think Biden won't make it for the full 4 years.
Wow.
I think he's going to drop out, just like he's going to walk up the stairs and just fall and tumble down and turn into dust.
Wow.
That's what I think.
Well, how do you think, if Trump wins, how do you think, you will never have another election?
Well, the fear is that, Trump has said, the last election was stolen and he lost it illegitimately. So he still feels like he's good for another 8 years. So he thinks he should get another one on top of what he was taken from.
Okay.
So
for a long time.
Yeah, he's just going to make up every excuse. Y'all took it from me this time, so I get 2 for that. And then another one for that. So it's going to be crazy. And what about your guy Erdogan? Is the Turkish president? What's up with him?
Yeah, that's why I asked, because he changed our law of being elected for a certain amount of time for a certain amount of years and stuff like that. But he changed that into a permanent, if you get elected, you can be president for the rest of your life, basically.
Wow.
And so that's why I asked.
Yeah.
And here we have him being president for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I really think it's very important that Trump loses this next election. Not that, I love the Democrats more or anything like that. Our left is really whack, but I really think if Trump gets in there again, it's going to be over. It's going to really be over. He's going to embolden the people who really dislike the change in America. He's going to go crazy in there, getting revenge on all the people that he thought did him wrong. It might be really, really bad. He's a vengeful, spiteful dude. There's the right, and then there's, oh my God. And Trump is like, oh my God, he's insane. Whatever though.
He's definitely if he wins, there's going to be a lot of social and political destruction for America.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad because I don't think he could handle the Israel-Palestine thing well.
Yeah.
He would have sent soldiers there into Gaza. It would have been really bad.
I think if he does win and he makes speeches and stuff like that, I feel like he's just gonna be racist against both Jews and also the Palestinians.
Yeah.
He's just gonna I don't know. He might say some crazy stuff.
Yeah. And you remember that video I was watching a few days ago about these guys. They were in Florida and they were throwing documents that were anti-Semitic onto people's front lawns. And one of the Jewish guys approached them and said, hey, stop doing that. And they just went off on them you effing K-word and all sorts of Jewish slurs, like right in the open, middle of the day, broad day. Like they are not scared. Like the supremacists are really bold right now. They are not backing down.
Yeah, there's no limit to their hate.
It used to be in the dark. It used to be something that you would only say at your kitchen table or whatever. But anyway. So yeah, what's our topic for today? What are we chopping it up about?
I mean, we have, I guess, like a couple of topics, but the main topic that we're going to be talking about is Islamophobia. And also, I don't know, Arab girls is losing the virginity preferences. I don't know.
No, I just put that in there just to see if people would want to see it.
We're not doing any.
We're not. No, y'all got to subscribe to our OnlyFans. That doesn't exist yet.
Say Kano.
Kano.
So you don't get.
It doesn't matter because YouTube has been hating on me. Like even our movie reviews get watched for review and stuff like that. Like The Color Purple is still under review and stuff like that. And the thing is with YouTube, they're not demonetized. They're limited ad revenue. So if they get the yellow check mark, that means you make money on YouTube premium stuff and also some ads, but not as many ads. Okay. You get what I'm saying? So YouTube has
have a lower income for that video.
For that video, right? So YouTube's been hating on me because everything I put up, they yellow check mark it. Then they have to check it again just to say, oh, this is just a Saltburn movie review. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I don't even like care anymore because
maybe it's because like of your, I guess like there was that time when like you were in Turkey and stuff, you were making more radical videos talking about like racism and also like other stuff as well. Maybe it's that.
Possibly.
They're keeping a tab on you.
Possibly. I think also what put a target on my back was talking about, you know, the Arab-Palestinian thing a little bit. And then also, of course, the wild Albanians jump in and leave mad dislikes. Yeah. And they probably reported a bunch of my videos a bunch of times. Yeah. So I'm probably on some watch list. This is a very wild channel.
Yeah, there might be some reports on the Albanian side. Yeah. Now that I realize it.
Yeah, that's why I just don't give a funk. I didn't say it, YouTube, but you're still going to demonetize it anyway. You're still going to demonetize it. Anyway, no, we were talking about the election, right? And we're talking about Islamophobia. By the way, I didn't pick the topic. At all, but it sort of just came up because we sort of made up this topic last minute. But one of the guys running for president, right, is a brown man. He's an Indian man who's Hindu. He looks like, you know, damn near half the population of Mauritius. And he's running to be president. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy, right? And upcoming in our election, like he's running on the right. He's a Republican. He's a conservative. And, you know, that side is very white and they're very like hesitant about foreigners and stuff like that. And so people who are voting are wondering, is he Muslim? Like I was reading an article today about this and people were saying like, you know, I like what he says, but was he born here? Is he Muslim? And then he says he's Hindu. It's like, what's that? Like, that's how Americans think and stuff like that. Okay. But yeah, I just think it's interesting because America has like this weird tendency, like when things are going really bad, we'll do the radical thing. Like we really didn't like Bush, so let's elect this young black man. We really don't like the young black man. Let's elect the crazy reality show billionaire. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think things are going badly enough to make Republicans vote for like a Muslim, Hindu, brown guy. But I don't know. In Turkey, like, what is it like? Do you think like any other religious person besides Muslim could ever be like president or something?
I don't think so. No. I mean, I don't think there's like a mandatory law to be like a Muslim just to be able to run for presidency. But I would doubt that like that person would be popular, like probably wouldn't even be able to gather a party around himself. I don't know. Because like if you consider like the voters of today, there's like a majority that votes for like Erdogan, right? And they use religion so religiously. Yeah. And they abuse it to a point like, you know, where that's why people vote for him, basically, because he's like continuing this religious tradition and stuff like that. So, I don't see it in the near future. I mean, that's one thing that is good about America, that, you know, there's that sort of ground for people from different countries, religions to like just try to,
right.
Become president, or they could at least like, just I guess, how do you say that? Like they can be in the scene. And I don't think Turkey, there's like a scene like that.
Yeah, no, you have like a very small Christian minority, stuff like that. I was watching a video about that, like these German Turks who are Christian that are coming back to their like Christian ancestral home there just to build like their summer home and stuff like that. Then they go back to Germany, and then they're also learning like their ancient, religion, like Aramaic or something like that that they speak. I don't know if I sent you that video. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
No. But yeah, you have a small Christian minority, maybe some Jews too. I don't know, and a whole lot of Russians who are just Russians, like their religion, whatever. So yeah, I can't imagine that happening in Turkey, honestly, after being there. It is a very Muslim country, I would say. And from my experience living in Tunisia, right? Tunisia is a very Muslim country too, but they are sort of like Turkey in like they pride themselves on having some secularism and like women's rights and stuff like that in their history. But they also have that other side of their politics where there's like this party called Ennahda, which is like their Islamist party where they want to make, the Islamic Republic of Tunisia. And that causes like some Islamophobia in Tunisia. Because in Tunisia, there are some people who say the Islamists are the problem. They're the ones who want to take our country back. We want to be more like the modern world, or in the worst case, they'll say we want to be like Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like in Turkey, is there anything like that where people are becoming Islamophobic against their own citizens?
Yeah, definitely. Like when you look at like the, more liberal side, the leftist part, they blame like, the way that Islam is used. Or sometimes they just blame Islam for the things that happen in the country. They think like, oh, people just blindly believe them. But I mean, the leftists in Turkey, for the most part, still do identify as Muslims. But they're also the people who like drink and, do those sort of things that is not particularly like in line with like Islam.
Right.
So
they're Muslim like how I'm Muslim. I say I'm Muslim, but I drink and
like most of them don't fast. Most of them don't like pray 5 times and things like that. And there are some that fast, like my mom. But yeah, like there's definitely like that sort of Islamophobia or like anti-conservatism against that side,
right?
In Turkey,
because it sort of gets joined together. Like in my country, in the U.S., we were at least in the early 2000s against like the Christian right in America because they were becoming like very powerful. They were like, we need to ban rap music, we need to ban video games, we need to bring prayer back in school. They were saying like all this stuff in the early 2000s, and there was a big pushback against them. And people nowadays still aren't Christian just because of what they remember the religious right was and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And also like the leftists in Turkey mostly adore and like just think of Atatürk as the god or something like that. Like they have immense love for Atatürk. So, and one of his like biggest achievements was separating religion and politics. And that was essential for that time because he was like creating a new country from Ottoman Empire, basically. And so people on the left side say like, okay, they should be separate. Don't take over the schools. Don't take over like, jobs and stuff like that. Like stop doing this, like, thing. So we want everything to be separate. Yeah. For people that don't know, Ataturk was like their founder of their nation, like their George Washington, and he was a secular guy. Like he appealed to the Muslim side of Turkey, but he also appealed to like the secular side of Turkey. So he would like wear a thobe at the beginning of the day, and then like be wearing a suit and waltzing at the end of the night, and stuff like that. Interesting guy, and I think this. Anywhere in the Muslim world, you have that divide. It doesn't matter if it's Bosnia or if it's, Niger. Like anywhere in the Muslim world, you have this divide right now between the people who want the Quran and the Sunnah to be a part of government. And then you also have the people that say we can retain our Muslim identity while still being democratic or free or liberal. And then you have people who say that, religion should sort of be at home, and that's your personal
relationship with God. And I feel like for me as a Muslim, and I still identify as a Muslim, I've gone through all three of those phases. I like at the beginning of my, conversion, I was like very adamant that following the religion is not different than wanting this society to follow that. You get what I'm saying? Because like Islam is a lot like Judaism in the sense that our holy book tells us that certain ways we should keep our society. Like that's a part of the practice. Like the Sharia is literally a part of what we're supposed to do. And implementing it is important too. Then I went through that phase after realizing that, you really can't force people to follow everything, and that some things are impractical in the modern day, right? Because the Quran says stuff about slavery, right? The Quran explicitly gives directions on how to treat and keep your slaves. I don't want slavery back. We don't want that. We don't want that. Sorry, God. Sorry if that makes me a kafir, but no slavery for me. And so then I went to this stage, well, we can retain our Muslim identity, but somehow meld the Sharia with democracy. You get what I'm saying? And I think there are positives in that, but I do think that if you have a government or any society influenced so much by one religion, it sort of puts people at the margins, even people who identify with that religion, not in good standing in that society. It makes them uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have a society with the Sharia, but I'm a Muslim, but I still like to drink, or, I don't want to get married or whatever, you're still outside of that fold.
Yeah.
So now I'm sort of at the stage where our religion is sort of what we should practice the Sharia. We should be the ones, I don't have to force you not to drink. I don't have to force people not to have sex. I should just be not having sex. I should be not drinking. I should be doing my thing to try to make a better society within it while I'm in it. You get what I'm saying?
That's always what I believed in. I always thought, and also like from a young age, this is also what my mom told me as well. Like she would always say, like, whatever you have between you and God is between you. And you either make mistakes and pay for them with your own consciousness, or like you obey the rules of your God in your head, and then you live a happy life. So it's like, if everyone has a special relationship with their God or whatever they believe in, then they should have this sort of automatic morality that they should obey to. And if everyone obeys to that, then we would have some sort of social harmony in general. Obviously, there will be people who will stick out, who will say, I don't know, my God says, this is okay, and things like that. And that's where like democracy kicks in, because you answer to higher, like just social power, not in terms of like, democracy is higher than God, but just like, you're still living in a social in a society. Yeah, in a society. So you have to answer to that, and then you can answer to your God in your like own terms and in your own like time and things like that. That's how I always thought. Right. And that's why I like really do not enjoy like, Turkish politics being driven by religion. Because I never saw the reason to take it into like this whole nation state type of thing. There's like no reason for that for me. Yeah.
Like following God's laws should be your choice.
Yeah.
And following the laws of the society should be everybody's mandate. That's what everybody should do. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But the thing is, and this is where it happens, what if you have a society where the majority of people agree on what God's law is, and then laws or ideas are introduced into the society from a part of it that's that's a minority, that's fringe, right? So we all have a Muslim society, right? We all agree that, marriage is between a man and a woman. And we have a secular society. Our society is not dictated by the Quran or the Bible or any other religious book. But some people who are a minority in that society say, let me marry my, boyfriend. Let me marry my girlfriend, whatever. How do we reconcile those two things? Because the thing is, the majority of people feel like this goes against what the law should be because they mostly agree on God's law. And then introducing this new law just to respect the rights of this minority is sort of oppressing the rest of the people because it goes against what their will is. Do you get what I'm saying?
I don't think it's oppressing the majority. Like, I think it's important to adjust our laws for new types of like rights that people have gained. Like, I don't know, introducing, I don't know, like homosexual rights or rights for disability, like disabled people and things like that. We should introduce them. Humans are always evolving, so are we supposed to just always stick to like one rule and just go with that for the rest of the earth, for the rest of the time? We should introduce those laws, and it's not like if you introduce a law for that minority group, you're forcing majority of the group to do that. Like, they can still do whatever they want, and probably if you're looking from like a societal perspective and not from like law, though their belief will still be the normal one. But it's just like the other belief, the belief of the minority, just wouldn't be illegal. That would still be legal too, but socially the majority's idea would still be the normal one and still wouldn't be like something that's frowned upon or something like that.
No, I'm with you. Of course, that's what I believe. That's what I agree with, right? Like the minorities, like religious minorities or people of different identities need to have their rights. But in a society, people sort of want their values to be reflected in that society. Like if you're in Muslim Turkey, right? And especially if you're from abroad and you really want to move to Muslim Turkey, the last thing you want to see is two dudes kissing. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I made it all this way here. Or you grew up in this society and you like the way it is. Why should you now have to accept this change where, these people now tell you that you're a bigot or you're hateful because you don't agree with these two guys kissing? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's sort of, every place wants to keep their culture. Every place wants to keep. I know you're sighing too, because I can sigh too, girl.
No,
I can
but
sigh too.
It's like that's entitled. Like, you don't deserve more than a person like that has different ideas. You just have different ideas, but it's not like you deserve more rights than that person. So I think, like, I guess what people should realize firsthand is that their rights are no superior to any other person's rights, or their comfort is not superior to any other person's comfort. But
they would say the same thing to those people. Your comfort is not superior to my comfort. I'm very uncomfortable seeing you hold hands with another man.
Then don't go there.
Oh, you're out in the subway with me. I'm with my kids. Why should my kids see two men holding hands? That's what they're gonna say. You're disturbing my comfort. Well, one of us is right. Who agrees with me? And 20 other people on the Turkish subway train raise their hand.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, the people who do those sorts of things, like people who hold hands in a country that, that sort of behavior is not normalized, they know the risk that they're taking. Because probably, guess what? Like, that's never going to happen. Unless, like, you're some, revolutionary-minded person.
The radical gays of Turkey.
Yeah, because they know that even though, like, it's not illegal to hold hands, they're going to get a backlash because the majority's view is the view that is valued the most still.
Right.
So people are going to act according to that. And there will be rebels, yes, or revolutionaries. And those are the people, who kind of force this change on society.
Right. By the way, shout out to Eric Lee Brown for jumping in. Never seen you in the chat before, but shout out to you. But going back to that, yeah, in Turkey, that's very unlikely to happen because it's very homophobic, right? And by the way, I don't feel like Turkey was as homophobic as when we went to Albania, because I feel, I don't know, Albania gave me like they'll beat up the gays vibe. Like Turkey gives me like we give them the side eye vibe, like the evil eye vibe. That's my opinion though.
I mean, obviously, also it depends where you are. Like, there are places in Turkey that you would get killed for being a homosexual person, but the places that we went were not really like that. We
Istanbul,
went to,
Marmaris.
like Istanbul is the metropole, so you have all types of people.
Right.
So people just give the side eye rather
Right.
than attacking them.
Right. I mean, we could go back and forth all day about, how Muslim societies in general, don't tolerate certain aspects now that are becoming incorporated in the modern world. But we shouldn't just put this on the Muslim countries because it's everywhere, right? Homophobia is rampant in Black Africa and in North Africa, despite them being Muslim or Arab or whatever. Homophobia is rampant in the United States of America.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Latin America as well. So most of the world has, in my opinion, like homophobic views. Like it's actually still very not normalized. It's not normalized. And I'm not like the champion of the gays or anything like that, because that's not what my channel is for. But I am about speaking up for oppressed people and people who are, marginalized and stuff like that. But what we're seeing in the Muslim world, at least, is like this real tear, because through my travels in the Muslim world, I've met so many people who are sort of open-minded, liberal. Hell, your two friends who are Tunisian that you know here, I've met like hundreds of people just like those two girls.
Yeah.
And all throughout the Muslim world, you find people who are into all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't think a Muslim person would be into.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And it's just interesting. Why do you think there is that big divide? Because you'll find like the most radical, people sometimes in these very conservative places.
Yeah. I mean,
like, for example, you get what I'm saying? Like
I think like I'll talk from like Turkey's perspective. I think there is that sort of admiration and effect of like European media and also American media in like people like me. We do like, with technology and stuff like that now, like my generation has learned to search for different things online and learn and get them because like, obviously there's something that makes them unhappy in their society. So they search for alternatives and they find new ways. And that's, I would say, mostly due to like, just technology and media, changing the way it does. And then, I don't know, I would say that in every country or culture, there is like a group that is sort of like distant from the mainstream that is in that country, like you.
Yeah, definitely. No.
So like you're one of them. Like you're American, but you don't share the same like love of guns, let's say, that your fellow Americans share and things like that. Yeah. So there's always that group that is not really like, feeling the vibe of the whole. And I guess like if you're in like a Muslim country or an Arab country or Middle Eastern country in general, that sort of social, like, I don't want to say oppression, but that mainstream social like beliefs are very strong because those are countries that have like strong communities and also like a lot of pressure that comes from communities and social rules, basically.
Yeah.
Like there are so many social rules in like for every occasion that you can ever think of that you will be in your life.
Right. What women are supposed to wear, how you wear your hair, how you're supposed to kiss people on the cheek.
Yeah, how you act like in front of men, how you greet guests, how you
talk in public,
food, how you talk in public, how you walk in public, everything. It's like both for women and for men, but also like a bit stricter for women as well. So like for me, I guess like that was one of the things that made me kind of like change and search and look for different ideologies, because as a woman, I just felt like, even like as a teenage girl, I felt like, my society didn't really allow me to,
be yourself.
Be myself. Not that like it forced me to wear a hijab or anything like that, but I'm talking like intellectually and psychologically.
Right. I mean, you're lucky because if you were born to a different set of parents, you might be in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was unfortunate enough to be born in a situation where I was forced to go to church. I was forced to stand up in front of the church and say, I believe in Jesus Christ and he's my Lord and Savior and all this sort of stuff. And I was burning up inside and stuff like that. And that's the story for like a lot of people. Like I would say a good majority of the people who are very religious today were brought up in very religious families, you know?
Yeah.
And so that sort of just passes down from generation to generation. But I think like in the Muslim world, like when you see these people that are becoming like very radical and stuff like that, there is like that influence from Europe and America, but it's also just like that want sometimes just to fight against that, like that oppression, that power that tells you to stay in a box or conform and stuff like that. So it's like what you said as well, but I also think maybe there's just that will just to like, I'm going to dedicate my life to, you know, being everything that they said, you know, I shouldn't be in this society and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there is that, but then also there is like that. I mean,
shout out to Donnie Williams, by the way. Donnie Williams, peace. Shout out to you. Go ahead, talk to me.
Yeah, there's like that sort of, how do you say, like reverse psychology, you know? The more people want you to do something, you want to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But like, I guess I did have that, like, and I still do have some of it when, especially like when I was in my teenage years, I was like, you know, I never wanted to accept anything. I didn't want to accept the religion. I didn't want to accept like the societal rules for women and stuff like that. But after a point, you realize that you didn't really do it just to like, you know, rebel against the society's rules, but you also really actually did it because you really truly didn't feel comfortable.
Right. And the crazy thing is in my Islam, in my relationship with God, in my reading of the Quran and stuff like that, within Islam, there is feminism. There is liberation for all people. There is a way in my theology that this religion is not so toxic and conforming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I do believe that there are some rules that we should live by ideally that can give us the best life, like not drinking, being very good to your wife and your husband, not lusting over people, being modest, dressing modest, speaking modest, being soft with others. These are like the important things that I picked up in Islam. And that's sort of like how I try to live my life. But the crazy thing is, I feel like within Islam, a lot of people tie to it like too much tradition.
Yeah.
Like they'll say, oh, in my country or in this land, we've always done it this way. So much so that now they associate it with God, with religion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff within Islam today is 50% cultural. Like just the idea of even wearing the thobe and the kafia and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with Islam. Like the Prophet probably never wore a kafia and stuff like that. And yeah, just other things, you know, a lot of the stuff on how we interact with other Muslims and the non-Muslims, I believe is, you know, just tradition, and a lot of it is bad and toxic, in my opinion.
I do agree. Like, I've never like hated Islam itself as an ideology. I always thought like it does really have great points that can contribute to your like humanity and things like that. But the thing is, what makes me like dislike it so much, I don't want to say dislike, but I guess like, you know, I just want to go away from it because you see like all your life, these people who always say the name of Allah, always say the name of the Prophet. And they're always from like outside looking are perfect Muslims. And then you see the things that they do or done, or you hear about them or you literally see them lying to you, trying to trick you, trying to take your money or something else, or harassing you or things like that. So then, you know, after a point, I felt like I can't trust these people because they're not really like who they say they are.
Right. It's very similar to how in America we have these preachers who have these giant churches, 10,000 people here on Sunday, and they get millions of dollars from donations and people, and the preacher drives luxury cars. And it's like, that is not what Jesus would want.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes you have a distaste for Christianity. Then on top of that, we have like our president who says, you know, he's a God-fearing Christian and stuff like that. Then he presses a button and drops bombs on Iraq and Afghanistan. So I definitely can see that, like, because then we also have our own personal life. Like, you know, you have a dad who takes you to church all the time. Meanwhile, he's like cheating on his wife. Like, there's so much hypocrisy that you see in people.
Yeah.
And that's sort of natural because we can never be as good as the prophets that we say we love. You'll never be as good as Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, Abraham, none of that, right? Yeah. But so much hypocrisy is done by people while they proclaim the name of God that turns so many people off.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why, like, just all in all, it made me come to a conclusion, like, okay, it's not about religion. It's about, like, yourself and your own morality and your own ethics and what type of person that you really want to be. And it's like, I'm like, I can be a non-believer and be better than all of these people. Like, I wouldn't do, like, the same things that these people do. I'm not saying it just to say like, oh, I'm perfect, I'm an angel or anything like that. Obviously, I made mistakes, but yeah, like, just, I don't know, like, being that type of two-faced is like, just, you know, something that I never really like stomach it.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I just have to push back a bit because I have to say this, but the non-believers will never be better than the believers. Like, the worst believer is still better than the non-believer because at least the believer believes in the creator of all of us. I just have to say that. I just want to go to Jenna.
I'll never be perfect for you then.
Okay. But another thing about like these societies and how they sort of like box you in, like, you know, and I feel a little bit fake talking about this. But I feel fake in the sense that, you know, people might say, oh, what do you know? You're an American who just traveled through the Muslim lands. You get what I'm saying? But I feel like I had a really, really big, living in Tunisia had a big impact. And then living with you in Turkey also had a big impact on my life. These are places where I spent years of my life. And I can only talk about what I've seen and what I've experienced too. But another thing about living in these Muslim lands is like how in sexuality, like, you're not supposed to lose your virginity before you get married. And so people end up committing another big sin because Islam explicitly says, don't put it in your butt. And like, when I went to Tunisia and I first started like dating and stuff, like after like my divorce and stuff like that, I was, you know, like chatting with some girls and somebody asked me, like, you gonna put it in my butt? I said, what? I said, no. And it's like, I was chatting with my guy, Abdel. He was the guy who owned the school I worked with. He was a cool guy and stuff. He's like, yeah, man, when I was a kid, a teenager, the only thing I could do was butt stuff. Like the first time I got laid and everything like that. Like, so all his girlfriends, like 3 or 4 girlfriends, is just putting in the butt. Put it in the butt. And it's like, it's so crazy, like, because that's dangerous too. It's not healthy. I'm gonna say it. Unpopular opinion time. Anal is not healthy. I don't think it's healthy.
I agree with that.
I don't think it's healthy. It's like, now for like the people who that's their lifestyle and they do that professionally, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you have an orientation that makes you have to do it that way. You probably know all the tips and tricks. Donnie Williams says it's nasty. I don't think it's nasty. I just don't think it's healthy because I feel like you can rupture something. To keep it real, if you can rupture something if you're sleeping with a woman and you know, hit it the wrong way or hit it too hard, in my opinion. Am I tripping?
It's not my preference. I'll say that.
No, but like if you have vaginal, you could get hurt too, right?
What do you mean?
Like, you could rupture it. If I just like boom, 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 of course you can rupture it too. Yeah. Right? So it's dangerous either way having sex, but
wow.
That's just
okay,
dangerous. So I'm tripping.
I'm just I don't know. It's definitely like something very real. I did that.
Wow. We keep it real.
Like,
we keep it real.
You know, my first like sexual encounters were anal because of that. And for me, like I said, I'm not a religious person and I've never been. Like, even when I was a kid, the lowest grades I got from like my religious classes because I would refuse to like memorize the surahs and du'as and all of that, like the prayers. And yeah, like too much information. Yeah, exactly. But for me, it was like a cultural thing, you know? Right. For me, I think I did it because of my mom, because she was always like, oh, it's so precious. Like, right. You know, this is something that you can never take back and you should only do it with a person that you really, truly love. Mm-hmm. And even though, like, even if I did it or didn't, she would have never known, obviously. But I was just like feeling like socially guilty of like having like just normal sex.
Right.
And so instead I had like, anal for like a good 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've only, like doing that for me was like very late in the game. And I only did it like a few times because it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
And I also like, I know this is too much information, but I said 2 years, but I didn't do it like all the time with every guy. It was because I didn't like it really. So I only did it maybe like two or three times in the 2 years.
Let me ask you a question about that.
So it was like special.
Let me ask you a question because everybody knows like you shouldn't have sex before you're married in Islam, right? Mm-hmm. But I think also everybody knows that you shouldn't do it in the butt too.
Yeah.
So then how do they get over that? How do they get over that part? Because that's equally just as bad. Some might even say worse.
I mean, the part where they're discussing like you shouldn't do it in the butt because it's haram, it's not that popular in Turkey. That like it's way worse to do it.
It's way worse to
lose your virginity than doing like anal. So it's it's like looked over. And like I said, like it's more like I feel like it's more societal than actually like religious because most people around me weren't religious, but like we still did that. Not all of my friends and stuff like that, but most of them.
I don't think like, at least as Americans, like we can't be judging y'all, of course, because like, at least for us, like we lose our virginity like very early, 14, some people even 13, 14, 15 and stuff like that. So like we're kids doing grown up things. So I don't feel like we can like, really throw rocks at y'all. And that's not the point of having this discussion to like judge y'all about it. But it's just like interesting because, this society is like so, how can I say, conservative that they're making people do even worse things, or other groups of bad things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what do you mean worse things?
Like sodomy, putting it in the butt.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like the conservatism to say that we're gonna do the good thing ends up causing even more bad things.
Yeah, it's definitely like a very heavy load on like teenage female mind.
Right.
Because I'm like, it's like I also started to explore my, sexual side in high school as well, like just as early as Americans and stuff like that. Or I don't know, like, because I think that's universal. Like that's when you start to get curious.
But you also went to an American high school though.
Yeah, but it's still Turkey.
Okay.
Like it's not like I only had, that intimate stuff with the people in my school. Like I was outside most of the time. So like, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I don't think that's really like that much of a difference between like our cultures, because that's when I started to. And
but do you think that's normal? Like
yeah.
To start? Okay.
I mean, there are two sides of the spectrum. Like you have like, just, I guess, normal kids and stuff like that. Or I don't know, like what is normal. But then you have like those like, women who are like really, really, really scared of everything society says that they will actually never have like sex before marriage.
Right.
Or, they would have to date like 1 year to have sex or something like that. So there's both sides of like the spectrum, I would say.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
But I think it's very common for like, Turkish like girls just getting freaky and stuff like that as well, because we have excuses.
Y'all have excuses.
Yes.
Okay, so like what percentage of like Turkish girls do you say are still virgins by the age of 18 or 20?
What percentage?
Yeah, like if you had to take a guess, because I would say like by the time, at least in my generation, by the time most of us were 18, I would say about 75% of us boys, at least, were not virgins. And maybe like 50% of the girls might have been virgins.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like
really?
50% of the girls are like not virgins and things like that. Because, you hear those stories like I like personally, like my dad's side is very religious and I had like friends there and stuff like that. And then I don't see them for like 10 years. And then I go there because I'm not really close with them. So I go there and I see like my childhood girlfriend there, and I'm talking to her like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? And she tells me that she had like this whole like fantasy like affair with her teacher.
Fantasy affair. So did it actually happen? Or
yeah, it happened, but she tells me like, you know, how you would like read in a book or you see it in a movie, like this forbidden affair between a teacher and a student.
Wow.
And they
Male teacher.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they end up like, you know, having an affair, like a sexual, you know, relationship.
Oh my God.
And they end up like marrying also, like 2 years after that they married. So
wow. High school or university teacher?
I think it's university.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
Wow.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I was like 20 something, like early 20s, 21 or something like that when she told me that, and she was the same age. So yeah, like just because you're religious doesn't mean like you don't get freaky and stuff like that.
That's
because
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, love knows no bounds, and like people will be attracted to who they're attracted to. So yeah, that will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like the, you know,
the details
of their relationship.
How did you not get the tea?
It's weird.
You should have got the tea. That's a story. What are you talking about, girl? We got to go to coffee.
Wow. That's silly. Yeah, I don't know. Like they were like slipping notes and stuff like that, and she sounded like she's really in love with this guy. But in my head, I can't stop thinking about like this guy's exploiting this girl.
A little
bit.
I
didn't tell my honest opinion to her.
Yeah. So Donnie Williams says religious are the worst or more freaky. Yeah, it sort of goes like that. I mean, in America.
Yeah, that's what most people say in Turkey as well.
Yeah, like in America before, like the immigrants came, we used to have like this thing, the immigrants, as if everybody's not an immigrant. But for a long time, there used to be this idea about the Catholic schoolgirl. Like the Catholic schoolgirl was always going to be the worst because in actually Catholicism, a lot of their families, like 50, 60 years ago, they were very conservative, like Muslims were, right? And like Muslims are. And they tried to protect their virginity too. And a lot of the Catholic schoolgirls used to give it up like through the butt, you know? Yeah. That used to be like a stereotype. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, I don't really like the stereotype because I feel like it's seen like that because you would never expect them to act in a freaky way when they could be just like, you know, when you saw the same activity done by like a liberal leftist person, you would expect them to have something like that. So I don't like the stereotype, but I also heard like, you know, stories like one of my mother's friend went to like the east of Turkey, like the very conservative religious parts, and then she went into like a lingerie shop and she's seen things that like she never seen, like toys and, you know, all types of like freaky stuff and lingeries and things like that. So yeah, like you hear those things, but I don't want to like, you know, still, I don't want to have that sort of super, what was that? Stereotype in my head. I don't like that.
No, I think like in the US, like there are some people who make a purity promise. Like the way we try to control our young girls from not giving up virginity is that
Jonas Brothers had one.
They had the purity rings. Yeah. You know what they were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they would keep these rings, and you know, sometimes they would have like these Christian summer camps, and then you would hear some wild, nasty stories that come out of those like Christian camps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And man. Yeah, it's religion. For whatever reason, religion gets people hot and wet.
Well, it's forbidden, so it's like the forbidden apple, you know?
That's crazy. I guess that's why. But another bad thing about like this conformity about religion is that it doesn't give people like good sex ed. Because the reason I even titled this video like Arab anal. Arab anal sounds like a wrestling move. That is like a finisher. But
why do you say it like that?
The finisher. Oh God, I'm imagining like the hairiest fist.
Ew, stop.
Yo,
this is why you don't get monetized.
This is why I'm not monetized. But no, there was a video that I sent you, a 1-minute video from the Huffington Post big newspaper that has like 3 million views from this Arab woman talking on the phone during an interview about why Arab girls have more anal. And she basically described what we just talked about. But then she said she was doing research in Morocco. She met some Moroccan pros, and she was telling the pros, you need to start wearing condoms. And the Moroccan pros said, oh, no, we don't have to wear condoms because all we do is anal. And, you know, it was such like a faceplant moment and a cringe moment. And I'm never going to Morocco moment. And it just made you realize that, you know, sex ed is more important than almost anything. Like people need to have like that at schools, because what your parents tell you probably isn't right. What your preacher telling you probably isn't right. And what your friends are telling you in the street is probably the worst. So there needs to be, I think, actual like sex ed like in the schools, and people need to get that sort of information so they're not thinking that you can't catch AIDS because you do anal or because you give head or whatever. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. But I do understand, like, you know, there was that relief from like, you know, oh, like even if we don't have condoms, I'm not gonna get pregnant. So like it's fine, but actually it's not, because you can still get diseases and stuff like that.
And that's another thing too. Like if we had sex ed when I was growing up in schools, like I'm pretty sure like
you didn't?
No. No. Our sex ed was, we have our biology science book, and you flip it to like chapter 13 at the end of the big thick book, and then you see the vagina and the penis and stuff like that.
And what do they tell you?
Nothing. They give you have the biology science book, and you sort of just open it and then you can read it and stuff.
That's not sex ed. That's just biology.
Well, that's what we have. Maybe. Wait, let me read.
I thought they gave out condoms and stuff like that and said use protection.
No, not in certain schools. Not in every school. Maybe in California. Maybe in New York and stuff like that. Louisiana, they're not doing that. The closest thing maybe I had to sex ed was a video that my biology teacher showed me about puberty. And I'll never forget this one scene where she described how when men go through puberty and they get older, their sweat gets thicker. And they showed some guys like playing basketball and their sweat was like really thick. I was like, ugh.
That's such a weird information to give.
I was like,
unnecessary.
Number one, I'm like, did I not go through puberty? Because my sweat don't come out like that. His sweat came out like yogurt. Ew. It was like the worst consistency I've ever seen for people sweating.
Like honey.
Yeah, just I was like,
ew.
I'm glad I am a prepubescent person still. Yeah, man. And maybe they showed some stuff about like pregnancy and stuff like that. But I never once had a full sex ed class. And I think that's what you need, honestly, in school, at least one semester. Because like growing up in Louisiana, I had 13, 14-year-old girls walking the hallways 7 months pregnant. You get what I'm saying? Like I grew up seeing that for real, middle school, high school. And I'm pretty sure you didn't see that. And most of the world, you know, doesn't see that. But that's a reality if you're in Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, stuff like that. So,
yeah, definitely. Like there's not a nibble of sex ed in Turkish education.
Like that word snibble.
Nibble. I said nibble. Oh,
nipple?
No.
You got nipples in
like,
sex ed?
Isn't that like a nibbling on something?
Yeah.
Like a small piece?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it means?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's nothing about sex ed in Turkish like education system. Even in like American schools in Turkey, they don't have it. We don't have it. We have like biology, and we just like know the names of reproductive organs and nothing related to what we're doing with them.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I learned about like, you know, sex was from...
You can say sex.
Oh, okay. I already probably said it like 5 times. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was from Googling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, getting pregnancy scares and Googling it, or like, you know, having my butt hurt from anal and then Googling
You
it.
can keep saying it again. Go ahead, keep saying it.
Anyway, and and basically also like pornography as well. Like that's where I had my sex ed, which is a pity.
Yeah.
Like those things are not, you know, useful for a healthy, you know, mind of sexuality.
Yeah. I think maybe I was a bit lucky because like I could say this, and some people might hate hip hop or whatever, but unfortunately, like a lot of people got some of their education from hip hop. And there's lyrics from like a song like Snoop Dogg says, "Ain't no pussy good enough to get burnt while I'm up in it." You grow up listening to that. You grow up listening to like TLC have a song said, "Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me." You know what I mean? And they're talking about you got to wear condoms, and all the rappers talking about wrap your Jimmy up and stuff like that. So, hip hop kind of possibly might have saved my life because, there's been times where I wore a condom because I was thinking of Snoop. Ain't no pussy good enough to get burnt while I'm up in it. Yeah, that's definitely true. So, like,
wow, that's so real.
That's very real. Like the words of rappers have like influenced a generation for positive and negative, which is why I will not take any hip hop slander. For every person that you could say lost their life to hip hop, there's like 10 people that learned something new from hip hop, changed their religion from hip hop, or at least wore a condom from hip hop. That's like the good thing about our art form, I would say. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's very interesting. Yeah, like I do wish we had something like that, but we didn't.
Yeah, you won't get sex ed from a Tupac song, but you'll at least know, Brenda's had a baby, and you'll hear Brenda's had a baby, the story. You get what I'm saying? So like those stories are very
like teaching moments.
Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah.
But I think we were talking about something else. We're back to Islamophobia and stuff like that. So go ahead. You have something you want to say?
No, but we were going to talk about like how Islamophobia is received in like
different places.
Yeah.
So within Muslim countries, there is Islamophobia, but also definitely outside. And let's talk about that. Too Short, Freaky Tales. That's like my dad's generation. But yeah, like those songs too. Like you heard of Too Short, right? He's a famous rapper from California. He's famous for making like just the freakiest, nastiest songs about like women and doing it in all sorts of positions.
Wow.
But even in every one of Too Short songs, he never says, "I'm gonna go up in it raw." He's always, "I wear a Jimmy, then I hit a silly or whatever." You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So yeah, man. Shout out to Too Short. So within Muslim countries, there's anti-Muslim discrimination, right? But then even more outside. And I think there's an interesting question. Why do you think, Muslims in Europe face discrimination, but Muslims in America don't to the same degree? You get what I'm saying? Because like France is notoriously bad to their Muslims, and maybe other parts like Switzerland and Italy and stuff.
I mean, it is very interesting because if you look at like history, you guys had 9/11, which was like after that point, I guess there was like more discriminations against Muslims, right? That is kind of understandable, like fine. Obviously, it's still not right. Like you shouldn't just like, boo down every Muslim because they're just regular people. But I don't think anything like that happened in Europe. Like,
well, their 9/11 was the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
That was their 9/11 for a good 700 years. Y'all gave them a good beating up, smacking them around for a good amount of time. So maybe that's why.
Maybe. I mean, I would understand that in like specifically the Balkan era, but Turkey never ruled actual Europe. Like Ottoman Empire never really like took Italy or anything like that. I think someone tried, but we failed, like Vienna or something. But like, we never took England. We never took Paris or anything like that. We just like was rivals. We were rivals with like European powers and things. So I would understand if that's where like the Islamophobia comes in like Eastern Europe, where like Ottoman Empire has occupied. It's obviously still not like something good, but I think it's because of like proximity, like the closeness of Turkey, and also like for example, Americans, I would feel like are more opposed the Mexicans coming in their country rather than like Muslims.
I would say it's equally as both, but that's because of 9/11. If you did that before 9/11, they would be like, oh yeah, let the Pakistanis in.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe like there's that proximity that these people can come here in our country easily. And also like they can, the regular argument for refugees and immigrants is that they will take our jobs, they will take our women, they will take our men and things like that. So maybe that's why. And I don't know, maybe also like Europe, I would say that is also like not all countries, but like countries like France, Italy, Spain are still very religious countries, I would say, within their community.
No, like France is hella secular.
Yeah.
Like
I'm talking about the society, not the political.
No, aspect. Like even French society is very non-religious. Like very few people go to church. Okay. Very few people actually practice a religion. Maybe they're Catholic in name, but even still, they don't really practice it like that.
Okay, then maybe it has nothing to do with that, but yeah, I don't know.
I think it has a lot to do with the history, like you said, at least for Eastern Europe, because in Serbia, they're still mad. Yeah. Y'all did something to them, and y'all need to apologize. Because y'all fucked them up bad. Because like half of the conversations I had with Serbs somehow went to, the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. Like every time they eat burek, they cry a little bit. Like
I told you the story that like when I was working in the restaurant and the waiter guy told me about the history of one of their like national dishes, which is Kara Georgieva. And it's basically named after this guy who fought against the Turks and won. And it's like, it represents his dick.
Because he's had a big dick because he beat out the big dick Turks.
Yeah, exactly. So like you hear things like that. And like there was war and possibly there was like some, I don't know, slavery stuff going on that like, Turkish people.
That was the whitest thing you've ever done. There was like some slavery stuff that we did.
I didn't know how to put it.
It was like we kind of like enslaved them, right? But that was a long time ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the like past slavery. I feel bad, truly. But that's why I said I could understand them.
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think I feel like in the Balkans and Eastern Europe, it's more Turkophobia tied with Islamophobia because they're just really scared. Because, if you really look at it, Turkey's a huge country population-wise and geographically, and it's in that certain place. Like, I think you guys think like at any moment, y'all could really take Greece. Like, y'all could have Greece back if you want. Is that like what most Turkish people think? Y'all could really take over Greece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm sorry, but we don't really care about like Balkans.
Okay, y'all don't
like nobody talks about Serbians in Turkey.
Right.
Probably wouldn't even know like
where Bosnia is or whatever.
Yeah, like I mean, obviously, like if you're educated, you would know. But if you're just like, if you pull out like 10 random person from the street, like I know like 6 of them don't know like where stuff is.
They couldn't point to Croatia or
or they don't know a lot about it, like so like even my students' parents every time ask, so which country are you in? And I told them like 20 times
that you're in Hungary.
Wow. And there's like more of like love and knowledge of Europe than like Eastern Europe, I would say.
Western Europe, you mean? Like
Western Europe, in general.
Yeah, and, but I think that's also because like the map is easier. The west you go, you got the big ones: Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy. You see them, but like the Balkans is like all little mixed up countries. Like even Hungary. Sometimes I'd be looking on the map and you're like, where am I? Because Hungary is like in a weird shape. You know what I'm saying? And it's so small, surrounded by all these other ones who are really big. Yeah. But
and also like for like people who want to migrate and stuff like that, like the Balkans are seen as like a gateway escape route to Europe and things like that. So like it's seen like as a step and not like as a place where people want to live, basically.
Right. I think also there's a class difference. Like Europe has Muslims who are, you know, some are refugees, migrants, low skilled, and ours are like data scientists, engineers, accountants, business owners, a lot of business owners. Like the Arab community, at least in the US, owns like every liquor store in the hood. And so, and the Indians as well, and the Koreans and the Pakistanis and stuff like that. Like so many of our Muslims are like spread out.
Yeah.
And also they're not ghettoized. Like if you go to Paris, there's like whole areas where it's just nothing but Moroccans and Tunisians in the banlieues. And in Spain, same thing. But ours are like spread out. There's like, you know, there's a bunch of Muslims and Arabs in Michigan. But other than that, there's just all over the country, just random as hell. And they're getting consumed into white society. So like the Jordanian parents come and they're fresh off the boat, but their kids, you know, next generation, they're white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're Americans.
They're Americans, but they're also going to be white. That's a bigger thing because I'm American too, but they're white. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, I see. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, I did like meet some like, you know, business owners in Serbia and whatnot, and actually like worked for them. But yeah, those people are like now, like you said, integrated into like Serbian society. They love rakia. They know Serbian, like their own mother tongue, and they've been living there for like 6-7 years. So like, you know, they can make fun of like Turkey with Serbians, and it's like that sort of level that, you know, because I mean, I would say that they're still like really proud of being Turkish and things like that, because that is a strong emotion that most Turkish people have. We are nationalistic, but I feel like Balkans and Turkey have love and hate relationship. And yeah, they basically mastered that love and hate relationship because they're also like, you know, they know everything about Balkan and Serbian culture, let's say, and they love it there as well. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. If I'm going to be honest, though, I think I prefer some parts of Serbia to Hungary. Some parts. Like, I think Serbia has more interesting geography. It's a more beautiful country. Like, we haven't seen a lot of Hungary yet, but Hungary is just more flat, and it's more interesting because of its architecture and a bit of its history. But Serbia has like the rolling hills and mountains. I would say more like snow in the winter, sunshine in the summer. I feel like there are some parts of Serbia and some parts of the Balkans that are more interesting and lively than like very sterilized like Hungary. Like Hungary is sort of like very Europeanized, as in, you know, it's like mini Germany. There's that, because becoming Europeanized, I believe, is often tied to Germanness. You know, like how becoming Westernized
sort of like,
is tied to
like Switzerland and like that sort of countries too.
Yeah, like I feel like the vibe here in Hungary is not that different than the vibe I would guess in Liechtenstein or Luxembourg or you know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think what makes like Balkans and like, you know, Serbia and stuff like that sort of like edgy and fun is that they do have like that roughness. Yeah. And they do still have like, you know, that's like there are traditions and stuff like that that they keep that makes them a bit interesting. And I don't know about like, we didn't go hiking or anything like seeing natural places here, so I'm not going to talk on that. But yeah, I do understand like, you know, there's like that sort of like, for example, tradition of rakia and like making someone drink rakia and stuff like that. Like those things make Balkans fun, and here it's more like you can see it's a lot more individualistic society.
Yeah. Definitely. A bit more modern. Like if you want that more modern, then you want to be in the EU. But if you want that like 20 years ago modern, you're jumping into the Balkans, in my opinion. Yeah. In my opinion, especially in Serbia, because Serbia is like an interesting place because they're trying to reject everything from like the modern world. Like, you know, Serbia is the one place where there aren't donor stands everywhere. Like the rest of Europe is eating donor like it's going out of style. Every block, donor. No donor in Serbia. We don't want that here. Go back to Istanbul with it. take it with you. They're not with it. And there's not a lot of minorities around and stuff like that. So it's just old Europe, at least for me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's also ghetto Europe. So you're gonna deal with like the closed-mindedness. Like that's the one place still in Europe where they're dropping the F-bomb if you're gay, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's you go chic.
You go chic.
As one would say.
Yeah, man. So it's just a different experience. But back to the topic of Islamophobia, like, and I'm sorry if I'm ranting and stuff like that. But do you think it's going to increase or decrease with everything happening with Israel and Palestine? Because like there have been a few cases of people turning up on, you know, the Palestinian protesters and stuff like that, and people getting mad at the certain Arabs and stuff like that. Like I believe in New York, there was a case of 3 university students who are all Palestinian. They were shot by some random white supremacists. I didn't cover this on my channel. One of them is paralyzed. Luckily, all of them survived. But that's one case. In the U.S. as well, there was an imam who was, you know, gunned down in front of his mosque, I believe about 2 weeks ago, stuff like that. And but then also at the same time, we're seeing a lot of stuff about, you know, people hating on the small hat community, the Jewish community. But I don't know. Do you think Islamophobia will increase or decrease?
I don't know, because like the thing is, if you are like Islamophobic already, you just like are waiting for something to happen so that you can like be even more Islamophobic. So with this thing happening, like some people who feel that way might, you know, excuse themselves to act and harm like Muslims and things like that. So in a way it might increase, but I think it also depends on the outcome of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, it looks like Israel is like has the upper hand, right? If you're talking about like military and things like that. So
but the world is sort of on Palestine's side. The world, most of the world.
America is not.
America is not by and
Europe
large.
is not.
But a good part of like a lot of people in Europe, like there's, you know, tons of Muslims in France who are stomping outside for Palestine.
Yeah, but you're talking about like individual preferences. But if you look at countries as a large, I would say like most of them like side with Israel.
Right.
So I think if Israel does like win the war, like, and, you know, have some sort of power over Palestinians, I think world will be less Islamophobic, because there will be that sort of view of like, you know, Palestinians as like the defeated ones and things like that. So maybe the world might take a pity on like Muslims and things like that.
Right. But I mean, it depends, because if the Palestinians are dispersed all throughout the world and then they have to go to America or Europe, South Africa, right? They might go to the Congo, right? Who knows? Like if they go places, they're going to be refugees. And of course, within, you know, 1 million or so people, there are going to be people that do dumb stuff or bad stuff. So some Palestinians might commit crimes or something like that. Or some people might just be offended that they even came to their country. So there might be more hostility. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I said this on the previous time we talked about Israel-Palestine, but I really believe like there has to be one group in the world that is always on the move, because
why?
At least 2 groups, because that's always existed. And so the Jews are just trying to create another set of Jews. For them not to exist as wanderers, another group has to be a wanderer. Like this is just a part of our nature.
That's so silly. We have a whole world. I'll give them half of Turkey. I don't care.
You would let the Jews have half of Turkey?
Man, no, not Jews, Palestinians.
Oh wow. Okay, so you want the Jews to take
We have more in common with Palestinians than Jewish people.
Man.
I can't like share my region with another group and then also have a religious war as well.
Oh God.
I'm not doing that.
Oh God.
At least like with Palestinians, we can unite under Islam.
But then you'll get the Turkish Adam Sandler.
So?
Don't you want the Turkish Adam Sandler?
Oh, no.
You could have the Turkish Drake.
American Adam Sandler is enough.
American Adam Sandler.
And Drake is enough.
Okay. You could have someone. I think the Jews should go to Turkey.
They're welcome to come as guests.
They could help the currency. They'll help the currency get stable. You know, right now the
That's
lira
a
is.
stereotype.
I'm sorry. The lira is at 30 to $1. Y'all need some help. I'm sorry.
Y'all need some help.
We do. We need to stop helping the Zionist Israelis exterminate our people. But there also needs to stop being anti-Black racism on both sides of them, in my opinion. I think there will be more not anti-Black, Islamophobic events, you know, in general because of all of this. Because, you know, some people really just don't like to see Muslims unified. I think a lot of people are scared whenever they see people in the kafiyas marching through the streets, pro-Palestine, people screaming Allahu Akbar throughout the streets in London and Paris and stuff, you know, because they're mad. Whenever Muslims get really mad, the world gets really terrified. It's sort of a common thing.
Yeah. So I just wanted to like discuss this one topic I found on Reddit, and it's like related to our topic.
Okay.
So like this person is saying it's changed my view, so we have to change his view. But it's saying that we are witnessing, or at least we're going to witness World War III in the upcoming like year, because it's saying like without using nuclear weapons, but this time we are using third world countries as battlefields. So Russia is fighting with NATO in Ukraine, and then Islamic bloc is fighting against NATO in Israel and Palestine.
Israel isn't a part of NATO, though.
I know.
That's so dumb.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But you know what I mean. Like,
Go ahead. The Western world.
Yeah. And China will fight against NATO on Taiwan, this person is saying.
Venezuela, Guyana.
There are literally new Axis countries, like in World War II, they are cooperating each other to fight against NATO. And it affects very dramatically on the world, including economics and politics. Recently, Taiwan got a new pro-American president, which means the beginning of Chinese invasion. Seriously, nobody believed that Russia will invade Ukraine, but it's happened. Nobody expected. And yeah, it's a battle between freedom and totalitarianism.
Totalitarianism.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess Taiwan had an election, and I guess the pro-American candidate won. The guy who's pro-independence, because Taiwan is a small island off the coast of China. China says, that's us. And Taiwan says, no, we're not. And yeah, very interesting. World War III is I don't like hyperbole, and I don't like people that talk about doomsday and like the end times are near and stuff like that. Because there's constantly been war.
He's not saying like world is going to end, but he's just saying there's another power dynamic like is coming or something like that.
I mean, the thing is, we're still, unfortunately, the people that run the world are very old. Putin was a part of the Russian spy agency KGB during the Cold War. He was during that time when it was the communist versus the capitalist countries of the world. And Biden is from that same era too. And Trump is from that same era too. And, you know, Macron is a bit young, but he was born during the Cold War era. We still have a world ran by people that remember a world where anything could pop off at any time. Communism was like a real living thing that was a scare to the West. We've seen so much rapid change that I think that we haven't really made our leaders keep up with so much of the change. We have leaders that don't know how to use the internet. We have leaders who are still, you know,
unable to learn a second language.
Right? We just have a very Xi Jinping is from that. Like most of our guys that run the world now have a very old way of looking at things. And I really think it will matter a bit when Putin dies. Because I think at the heart of it, we have Netanyahu and Putin as sort of the two main factors that are keeping the biggest conflicts going, because they have a certain ideology that has blinders onto any other alternatives. Netanyahu is not open at all to a two-state solution or having a state where Israelis, Jewish Israelis and Arab Israelis can share that country, because it's supposed to be the Jewish state. So that's one thing. On top of that, you have Putin, who has this entire idea that the Ukrainians and the Russians are meant to be one people, because that's how he grew up. He grew up in a country where that big section that's in Europe was a part of his country, and he saw it taken away or fall away. And he's trying to reclaim that glory. And man, if I'm going to keep it real, Xi Jinping wants to finish what Mao started. Mao was the guy who unified all of China under communism, and he wants to try to bring it back. And Xi Jinping's father was best friends with Mao. So he's like, I'm fulfilling some sort of destiny or prophecy for, my country and stuff like that. We have people that are just tied up into the past, and they want to tie up the loose threads of season 1, but we're on season 3.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I ranted here.
But isn't that going to cause like conflict? Because it's insane to think like, okay, so if there is like something like this, potentially, it would be like Russia. It would be maybe, I'm thinking like the Arab world. Though I don't know if they would stand with Russia as well. And then you have like China as like uniting, forces.
Russia supports Palestine. Ukraine supports Israel.
Yeah, so and I don't know if that would like, suck the Arab world into supporting Russia.
Right.
Because the Arab world is kind of quiet right now with the whole thing.
Except Yemen. Yemen is setting it off. Yemen is like taking over boats near the Red Sea, and the U.S. sent drone strikes there and stuff like that. Yeah. I believe what we're seeing now is like a very hot world. A very hot world, literally, because like global warming is going to make a lot of sea rise and cause a lot of ecological changes for a lot of countries. Mm-hmm. Like I believe in Australia, they said that, any of the Fiji Islands, when they go into water, any of their citizens that come to Australia are automatic citizens, because people are just accepting the fact that whole entire countries will be lost. Mm-hmm. And that's crazy to think about. But in this century, we will see entire nations underwater, like the Maldives, like maybe some islands in the Caribbean, like Bahamas and stuff like that. So we're seeing a time where people are fighting over resources and fighting for control, but also with the mindset that's from a past century that was very heavy on conflict, like,
So I don't know, like, do you think these conflicts, let's say like these past sort of ideological conflicts, will get resolved within like those two parts, like those two sides? For example, Ukraine and Russia is going to get resolved somewhat between Ukraine and Russia, and the whole world is not going to be affected by that.
How I predict Ukraine and Russia ending, and I'll ask you this after, I think what will happen is that Zelensky, because right now he's even considering sending the Ukrainian women to die, and the powers that be aren't going to let Anna Kournikova go up to the front lines. No. They're going to keep the Ukrainian broads out. He will not let them die. Imagine a bunch of girls with lip filler on the front line.
It'll bounce off.
Imagine the drones flying overhead and just looking down cleavage and drop a drone straight between the prostate. It's just insane. I'm sorry.
Wow.
But the way I imagine Ukraine will end like this. Russia can't end this war without some sort of victory. So they're going to keep Crimea, and they're going to keep a good part of the eastern half of Ukraine. So they'll have sort of like Ukraine's coast, and Ukraine will have only Odessa left. To my degree, in my opinion, Zelensky has to accept that. By accepting that part of his country is gone, but he gets into NATO and the European Union. And so if Russia tries that ever again, it's over. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I can see that ending. If Zelensky honestly thinks he can take back the whole thing, plus Crimea, now that Crimea is full of Russians, he's insane.
Yeah.
And, everybody's counting the clock to when Putin dies, maybe a good 15, 20 years or so. That's my opinion on that. Yeah. And when it comes to Israel-Palestine, I honestly think that the Gazans will be forced to go into Egypt, or Gaza will be much, much smaller and reduced, and eventually the cycle will repeat. 15, 20 years now, another major thing will happen in Gaza, and then there'll be the final solution there. But the bigger problem will be what will happen to the West Bank, because those settlements aren't enough to move a larger population of people there. Mm-hmm. And if the Israelis do decide to move the Gazans all the way out of Gaza into Egypt, or relocate them to the West Bank, or just send them to the Congo or whatever, the repercussions from that, I think, will be large, and the U.S., regardless of whether it's Trump or Biden, will say that we're losing so much capital and, like, how can I say, influence just backing you up, that you have to make some sort of change in this. And what I think will happen is that the Israelis will take the white supremacist approach that they did in the US and just have an oppressed Arab minority in a state, which is what I think they should have done the entire time if they really want their Jewish state. You get what I'm saying?
Isn't that what already, like, that was what Gaza was and West Bank was?
No, but they segregated them. What they should have done is just bring them in, say y'all are Israelis now or whatever, or change the name to Palestine. Who knows? This was what would have been brilliant. The Zionists changed the name from Israel to Palestine. They just literally changed it.
They would never do that.
But let's say they do. It's the Jewish homeland of Palestine. And they have the exact same laws, the exact same court system, the exact same fair economics that keep the Arabs in Palestine or Israel deprived and stuff like that. Just no more West Bank, no more Gaza. We're all Palestinians now. But we still got this under control. It's apartheid South Africa 2.0. I think that would have been far more easier. And I think eventually that what will happen. All right. So JS Ventris, I'm sorry.
Okay, go.
All right, JS Ventris says, what about rise of the far right? I think the far right right now in certain places is on the rise. Like what we saw in the Dutch elections. I believe that was last year, right? The Dutch elected like some far right guy who wanted to kick out all the Muslims. Marine Le Pen, I believe, is running again in France. And if things continue to get very hot with the pro-Palestinian protests in Paris, Marine Le Pen has a good chance of winning and stuff like that. But in Poland, they defeated their far-right candidate and sort of a European centrist came into power. I think a big bellwether is whether Trump wins or not. Trump winning or not is the biggest sign of whether the far right is really continuing on the march or if it's a death knell. I think also in Italy, what we're seeing right now with the far right Italian lady who became the prime minister there, I forgot her name, blonde lady, you know what I'm talking about? She might lose because the far right, once again, cannot actually control any of the issues that they want to control. And even worse, subconsciously, they want the negative things that they say they don't want to happen. The Italians are deathly afraid of their country being overrun by African immigrants. And what did we see a few months ago in Lampedusa? 17,000 niggas in boats. 17,000 niggas in boats just pulled up in Italy. What does that sound like? Does that sound like an effective right-wing government? It doesn't sound like it's actually working. Sorry, I'm ranting here.
No, it's okay. I don't have as much like information or knowledge about politics as you do. So
yeah,
my opinions are just like sort of general. Like I don't have theory for every country or whatnot. So yeah, but I do agree with you on like Russia and Ukraine. That is a very possible outcome, and that's logical as well. I don't know about like, Israel and Palestine, but it does look like they might be driven out of the country. Mm-hmm. But like you said, then it's going to be too much of a toll on the states. So they might ask for like something to make up for all the hate that they got.
Yeah. Because it's getting untenable now. Because what they used to do with Israel, Palestine, and America is when there was only mainstream media before social media and stuff like that, they would just say, well, this is a complicated issue. We don't really know all the facts. Then they would bring like one very angry Arab man on TV and then one very calm looking Jewish man to have a debate. And then that was it. And then, and then people were like, well, I don't know what to think. And now with social media, people are seeing like the kids without arms and the bombs on the houses. So people are like waking up, and the media can't continue to control it. Every 3 or 4 years, the media falls further behind the information the general public has. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, Donnie Williams says, be cool if you had a map, but I pull out maps all the time on my live streams. My live streams get 40 views.
Yeah. Wow.
But are you tired? Mm-hmm. Are you tired? I have one more thing to ask you.
Go ahead.
I have one more thing to ask you, and I'm going to read this to you because I think this is a big issue right here. So, is Israel part of what it means to be Jewish? Because if you criticize Israel, some people say that's anti-Semitic because, it's like if I criticize Turkey, am I anti-Turkish?
No.
No. If I say
you do criticize Turkey,
no,
I don't think you hate Turkey.
No, I don't. But if I criticize, I don't know. Some people might say that because when you criticize Israel, like attacking Hamas or something like that, you're saying that this country doesn't have the right to exist, and that you're saying that the Jewish people don't have a right to defend themselves because you're attacking their military, which is attacking a terrorist group, some people say. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think if I attacked like Israel or if I condemn like something that they did, I am anti-Israel or anything like that. Because I know this has been like so much of a joke, but I also condemn Hamas because it is a terrorist act. But I'm still with Palestinians. Yeah. I support Palestine in the essence of the whole story. But I can acknowledge that, what the terrorist group did was bad. And all years of oppression doesn't justify for it. Yeah. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. But in my opinion, and I don't know, like, the thing is, I feel like because, of course, Israelis and Jewish people have the right to own a land, right? But it was taken away from them. So I feel like the right thing, obviously, like I feel like morally right thing to have is them living under Palestinian rule. Wow. Maybe. I mean, or like obviously the best solution would be sharing it, right? Yeah. But if like a land belongs to certain people, you can't just like show up and be like, hey, like this is our land. Because it hasn't been your land, and I don't think it's your land. So, yeah. I mean, that's their biggest fear. The Israelis fear that if they did, open the gates and let the Arabs in or the Palestinians in, that they would be overrun because the Palestinians have 3-4 kids and the average Jewish woman has a dog. Wow. So, I mean, yeah, but also like, I don't know. I feel like, okay, let's be honest. Like throughout the history, there are a lot of like Jewish communities that live in different parts of the world, right? We have a Jewish community in Turkey, and there's a big Jewish community in the U.S. and different parts of Europe and things like that. So I feel like Jewish community has sort of culturally adopted this idea of just like, being abroad or moving abroad and things like that. And obviously this wasn't something that came naturally to them. Maybe it was something forced because they were forced to like travel here and there. But I do also think like even today, it's kind of become part of the culture. I don't know. And, no, that's right. Because there's like the most amount of Jews outside of Israel are in Brooklyn, New York. They own that entire borough of the U.S. And they have their own sections where everything is in Hebrew and their culture is intact and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's a part of this article that I wanted to read to you. Okay. But go ahead. Yeah, I just want to say this. So like, and also like wherever they are, I feel like I would say that mostly that they are like in a good condition, like either they're wealthy or middle class, I would say, and they do have some power in the community. Right. So how come like you're going to be all parts of the world have these strong, wealthy communities, and then like also want a whole country for yourself when Palestinians don't have those sort of communities in other countries? If that makes sense. Well, they're like I'm sorry, but Palestinian like the community in the States is probably not as wealthy as the Jewish community, I would say. And also maybe face like more discrimination because of the whole terrorist Islamophobia thing. I mean, a good portion of the Palestinian community could fit in DJ Khaled's house. Okay. I mean, exactly. I mean, I'm saying like probably there are less Palestinians than there are Jewish people. There's I'm not talking about all Muslims. I think specifically talking about, if I remember the statistics right, there's about
2.5 million Jews in America and about equally the same number of Arabs in America.
Okay, I'm not talking about Arabs though.
Right, but I mean the Palestinians by and large are an Arab people. Like they can go amongst the Moroccans and the Jordanians and generally be, they have the similar culture, very similar culture and stuff like that.
Yes, but I'm talking about a specific country. So
Mhm.
even though they might share a same culture, like, it's not their country.
It's not their country.
It's not people from their country.
The thing is, and I can sympathize with the Jews for this. Like when you are a people without a country and you live at the mercy of other people, you're sort of always wondering what could happen, right? Like for centuries, they were cool under Germany, flourishing, banks, businesses, balling, you know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, some mad little dick man comes and blows up everything.
Yeah.
Right? So having a state that you can control makes a bit of a difference,
Yeah, of course. I think I do sympathize with the Jewish people too, because obviously, like, no one should, have that sort of fear all the time over them, thinking what is the next step or what could happen. And maybe like the whole World War II situation became like a phobia and made it kind of like a paranoid people, you know what I mean? Rightfully. So I do understand that, but also like at the same time, you can't just show up anywhere and claim that land.
But that's what people have been doing for a long time. That's how y'all got Anatolia. That's how we got America. People showed up, took it.
I know, but that's not like a long time ago. Right now, when we took Anatolia, it was like 1400s or something.
Okay,
like
but
that.
still,
I don't know.
Still, that was, y'all pushed out some people and
there is no still though. Like right now, we didn't have like human rights or constitutions back then. Obviously, it was still wrong, but there was no one checking it, and now there's people checking it. So you can't do that.
Honestly, for being real, there's nobody to check it now, because right now our countries, your country and my country right now, are doing things to other countries that's not fair. Your country goes into Syria and drops bombs on whatever Turkish militant or ISIS guy you think is there. You're doing that right now. We send bombs all over the world and blow up innocent villages all the time just because we think a terrorist is there. So there's people right now, our countries still do wrong. So, who are we actually to judge? Shouldn't we be talking to our own countries first before we criticize Israel about what they're doing within their borders and that sort of stuff? You get what I'm saying?
Yes, no, I totally get it. And it does sound hypocritical when like I say it or you say it and things, but still we're not going to Syria to invade Syria. It could be wrong what we're doing, or we could be hurting civilians and things like that. I don't know like the whole details of it, but we're not trying to take Syria away from Syrians. And but that's a different thing that's happening between like Israel and Palestine.
Right.
And the people who will check it is like, first of all, it should be like NATO, I feel like a little bit, but then also like it's just other people, who are aware of human rights and certain rights that, countries and groups have.
Right.
And this is what is sort of happening right now.
I mean, what we're seeing in Gaza and different places, it's just tragedy on such like a huge scale, right?
Yeah.
Like when you open up the newspaper and you see Turkey drops drone strike in middle of nowhere Syria, you're like, oh, okay, 5 people died. Okay, well. But then when you hear about 20,000 people, 15,000 kids, hospital bombings, that's like such massive. It's like, whoa, like right in front of your eyes too. And it's like, the thing is, yes, like what we're seeing here is totally wrong, but like there is absolutely how can I say this? If we really subscribe to the strongest will survive, or survival of the fittest, or these things happen in history, right? Because that's how we explain away our history. Then what's to stop another group of people from making and defining their own history? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there isn't. That's why we shouldn't do it. And I know I've said this like a couple of times, survival of the fittest and things like that. But maybe I've changed my idea. Maybe I don't feel like that anymore after like seeing like certain things happen, because we can't do that.
You just can't
anymore.
do it.
No,
just can't do it.
We can't. We have to take, first of all, we have to take responsibility of the effed up stuff that we did in the past for all like countries and people. And then we should try not to repeat them.
Right.
Like, that's it. And what is happening here is like a repetition of like killing people.
Killing people is just a part of defining our borders. Like Turkey would have to kill some people if they tried to run into their borders.
Yes, but that's not happening right now.
So, but it does happen every single day. I'm pretty sure there's some Afghanis, Pakistanis, Iranians who try to cross the border illegally, and they get their ass capped up, if not thrown in jail.
Yeah, but that's protecting, not attacking.
And Israel would say that they are protecting their borders because literally some people jumped over a fence and then slaughtered people at a music festival.
Yeah, but why did they do that? You have to go back in time in order to explain
Yes,
certain things.
they did it because a group of people came there and took their land.
Yeah.
And might makes right. And the other group was powerful enough to take their land. And now that's where we are.
Yeah, I'm saying that's wrong. Certain things at this, I know you hate this, but at this century, 2024, we shouldn't be like massacring whole people because we want to take back countries. This should be something that should be done like by paper. I feel like that's what humanity should go to, but it's not going right now, obviously. So that's why we have this sort of like social responsibility to say like this is wrong. It's wrong if whenever it happens, like if Turkish people are shooting like, you know, people at the border, that's still wrong. We should say something about it.
Right. By the way, shout out to Morient B. Hello from Albania. Persian Detje. Listen, I can see something being wrong, something starting off as wrong, right? A situation begins in a bad way, but then when something progresses to a point where the alternative becomes so worse, then how do we actually justify that anything other than what is actually happening should happen? You get what I'm saying? Like we can all admit right now that how can I say this? All right, there are some times when people are addicted to like drugs, right? Like heroin or something like that. And if they don't get their drugs, they get sick. They throw up and die, right? And let's say you have a brother or something like that who's on heroin. Heroin, of course, is very bad for you. It will kill you. But he's trying to shake it off. And he says, lock me in the door and don't let me out until I shake off the heroin. Next thing you know, he's like throwing up, screaming, crying. Sounds like a demon's possessed. Do you want your brother to die a horrible death where he might kill himself? Or do you actually just like give him the heroin? I think what we're looking at here with Israel-Palestine is like the situation where, yes, we can all admit that the Jews came there and did something very, very bad. They took people's land that was not their own. Now, what is the alternative now? We have this group of crazy radical Islamic extremists who want to bring off the caliphate, and they're, you know, blowing up people as soon as they cross the border and stuff like that. I mean, do we just want to let that? Do we want to let them win? Do we want to let them win? Is that what we're really talking about?
No, but what you should do is send your brother to rehab with professionals, you know? So what the world should do is like, hey, Israel, it's not cool. Hey, Palestine, it's not cool to like send a terrorist group and, you know, bomb with Hamas or something like that. Like, so I feel like in the world as people, and obviously governments have the power to do that. I cannot go to the war ground and say, stop, you guys. So it's like governments at this point should like interfere with physical conflict and negotiate, like, you know, how do you say that? Like
negotiate peace.
Yeah, negotiate peace.
But
people shouldn't take sides and send like guns and soldiers to countries. And the reason why we do is like, obviously it's power dynamics. And I know like it's not realistic and maybe like it's utopic and things like that. But that's what I'm just like defending.
I got you. I got you. It's just, if I were a Jewish person, I would be saying right now, the big question in my mind is, are we really safe if we don't have our state? Now, some people might be saying, Israel is making Jews more unsafe because with all the evil that the Zionist army is doing in Gaza is putting a target on every Jew's back. And there have been Jewish people who've been hurt and killed in other countries just because people are mad about what is happening in Israel and Gaza and stuff like that. I can see that argument. But then yet and still, when there was no big flare up and a lot of talk about Israel-Palestine, there was terrorist attacks like in my home state when somebody not in my home state, but in the US, where somebody walked into a synagogue and cleared the whole thing out with a gun about 4 or 5 years ago. And other sorts of anti-Semitic attacks and Jewish people getting beat up, shot, killed over just wearing their curls or just somebody knowing they're Jewish. We watched a video, like we said at the beginning of the stream. People are now openly like saying negative things to Jewish people. Like, how can I say that you are safe if I'm a Jewish person, outside of my state when we're in a world that has been hostile to our life for so long?
Yeah, but same thing can be said about like Palestinians. I know that they don't have like the same history with Jewish people, but they have been treated very like poorly by the Israeli state for centuries. And then who's to say if they go out into the world that people are going to treat them right? There's also Islamophobia. There was also shootings in mosques and stuff like that. So who's to say that they are safe?
Right.
So who's going to decide like which side should get security?
Right.
Anyway,
once again, I think the underlying thing is that security doesn't come from solely negotiation. It comes also from who's willing to lay it on the line in these contentious times. You know what I'm saying? You would not have Turkey without your guy Mehmed II picking up boats and stomping on the Byzantines. You get what I'm saying? We would not have the U.S. if it weren't for, unfortunately, people coming in and wiping out entire tribes and stuff like that. And I'll never forget when my 4th grade teacher, I asked her, she was teaching about what happened to the Native Americans. I raised my hand and I said, don't you think we should give it back? And she said, no, it's better now. I'll never forget that. That. She said that. My 4th grade, Miss Brown. That was her name, Miss Brown. And she was actually a pretty cool teacher. Nice, funny lady, liked to smile and stuff like that. She said, no, we can't give it back. It's better now.
Wow. It's Brown.
It's Brown. Don't give the U.S. back to the Indians. And this is the thing, man. I hate to say it, but what Israel is doing is wrong, but it's not unprecedented because colonialism is how a lot of the greatest nations were made. It's absolutely wrong, but it's just sort of like what we're witnessing is like the most brutal part of the fact of life. Like if you watch an animal documentary and you see alligators eating baby alligators, sometimes they eat their own children and we just accept that as a part of the cycle of life. You know what I'm saying? I know that might sound like I'm ranting. Are you tired?
No, but come on. I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like an anti-Semitist, but
don't say it then.
No,
I don't want to. I'm not racist.
I'm just gonna say
I'm not racist,
I don't care.
but
I am not.
Don't say it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Say it. I'm gonna give you like 5 minutes to think about it. Because when you start off a sentence like that, you start off a sentence saying, "I don't want to sound anti-Semitic," but no, don't do it.
Okay, let me tell you.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Think about it. Think about it while I read.
I was gonna say like. What is like the thing that Black Americans want from white Americans?
Reparations.
Yes. In the world.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, when does it stop? All this pitying.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Okay.
Okay, let me be the AKDI whisperer for you guys. Okay, so essentially what she's saying is that, after what happened in World War II, the idea to create that Jewish state was really prominent, so that the Jewish community could sort of get compensated for what happened to them, and then on top of that, so that they'll be safe, because this was something that was, on their minds. They wanted to protect themselves as a people.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, right now, it seems like the world is still protecting a group of people who really went through a real trauma, but they keep on using that trauma as an excuse to inflict other trauma on people.
Because and also like one of the biggest group of people who went through like that sort of trauma and is still going through are Black people, right? And specifically Black Americans. But you are not like, just shooting random people on the street,
right?
Or just coming up together and wanting to take half of America,
right?
And things like that. So, and you didn't get reparations. So I don't think that sort of thing gives you an excuse to be like this destructive to another group of people.
Right.
That's what I wanted to like say, really.
And if we were to make that claim, when we do make that claim for reparations or our own homeland, it's actually legitimate.
Yeah.
Like, we actually did build the U.S. and we actually do deserve money. The reparations was given to slave owners, but not to the slaves themselves. But when we talk about Israel, the thing is, I believe that, when we're talking about the existence of our people and the constant threat of there being another Holocaust for them, they sort of have a very good motivation to try to make sure that their state is intact, because the one place a Holocaust will never happen to Jewish people is in Israel, if that makes sense. At least not by their own citizens. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you this. If Turkey were to dissolve tomorrow and all the Turks were spread out across the world and you were never the majority in any one place, do you think the Turkish people would be safe?
No, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like,
I'm
thinking about Germany.
Right.
And we're kind of safe in Germany.
Y'all can't all sell donor. Eventually people will get tired of it. Y'all can't all sell donor and kebab and open
We're
up.
We're going to Tanzania to open donor shops.
Even they'll get tired of that ass quick. They're like, these people don't smell natural. These people.
There's no musk, only perfume.
There is no musk, only perfume. What is this? That's good. Listen, man, I just want to ask this question. Is Israel a part of what it means to be Jewish? Some progressive Jews are embracing diasporism, reimagining their faith as one that blesses their lives in America and elsewhere. I'm just going to read this article. We're going to chop it up. It's not too long. Are you tired, though?
I'm tired of talking about Israel and Palestine.
You really do?
Go ahead.
All
Let's
right.
finish this.
Okay. All right. I'm going to skip ahead a bit. All right. So some versions of diasporism are secular, often hearkening back to the unreligious anti-Zionist Jewish labor bunds that arose in the 19th Eastern European right. So basically, like, Zionism was actually how can I say this? Original Zionism by the original founders like Theodor Herzl and stuff like that. They were not religious Jews. They didn't like follow the Torah or anything like that. They did it strictly on like a nation for an identity of people. And that was sort of like the beginning. And this is a very recent phenomenon, the idea that the Jews are an ethnic group rather than a religion, or a race, as some people would say, than a religion. And so, there are anti-Zionist Jews who are religious, who say that in their book, God will create Israel. We can't create it. And if we do that, that's gay.
Silly. I always kind of thought that, Jewish people were an ethnic group. Ethnic group.
But they are an ethical group. They are as well. They are very ethical. Okay. Okay. So other flavors of diasporism or anti-Zionism are religious. The Berkeley professor emeritus Daniel Boyarin has called the Babylonian Talmud a rule book for living a Jewishly composed in exile, the true Jewish homeland. Okay, so this is an interesting idea. Some Jewish scholars said that really being a Jew is about living in exile of your holy land, but keeping your Jewish identity. which is another way, which goes to show that their religion, we can't be mad at all Jewish people because of what's happening in Israel, Palestine, because there's so many who have different views. And it's a very fascinating topic, because, they say, if you have two Jews, you have three opinions, right? And so with the same religious book that they're looking at justifying what's happening in Gaza, another guy is looking at it and say, we shouldn't even be here. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made that argument that, like, kind of being out of the land was a bit cultural. Mm-hmm. But obviously, like, still nobody has to be out of a land, or nobody has to be forced to, be in exile position forever. So, yeah.
So Zionism, at least at its most doctrinaire, insists a Jew can achieve a total realization as a Jew only by living in Israel. Shiliat ha-Golah, Hebrew for negation of the exile, was an early Zionist slogan. Diasporism, by contrast, holds the inverse. The Jews must embrace marginality and a certain estrangement from Israel, the country, and perhaps even Israel, the place. Anybody who cares seriously about being a Jew, goes an epigraph to Mr. Majid's book from the late American theologian Eugene Borowitz, is in exile and would be in exile even if that person were in Jerusalem. Very profound. I think that's very, very deep, because if we think about it, right, the Jews believe that they were kicked out of their holy land because they forgot the ways of God. God saved them from Egypt and slavery, brought them to the Holy Land. They started worshiping the golden calf and stuff like that. And then they were like dispersed and stuff like that throughout the world.
Yeah.
And even if the state is created, that break with God was not fixed. So therefore, like, why are we trying to get connected to this land that God has cursed us from? If we stay here, we're going to be cursed even more. I just find that fascinating. And
so there you go.
Wow.
That's what you're saying.
Wow, it's very deep.
No, okay. I think, I mean, I don't know. Like, the thing is, when you like first asked this question, I was like, no, I don't think Israel is an identity of Jewish people. Because, like I said, there are a lot of like Jewish people everywhere. And I remember, like, in high school, we had this trip where we went to a mosque, a church, and a synagogue. And that was like the first time I saw like a Jewish community like doing it in real life. And it was actually really pretty. There was like some lady on the corner that was playing like some Jewish song. And they were like telling us about their rules, like, oh, we don't eat this with that and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And like also telling us about like the ritual that they have of adolescence and things like that. And it was really interesting. And like those people are probably like living like Jewish. I don't know. Like they looked very happy, and they also looked very like, religious as well. So like, how come, so those people like aren't Jewish then by your standards, just because they don't want to live in Israel, or they have like no desire to chase a land that they were supposed to chase or something like that?
The thing is, like, in their religion, in their prayers, they pray, we want to return to Jerusalem. They pray to that wall. Their holy temple that was built by King Solomon was knocked down. And some people believe that temple needs to be rebuilt for their Messiah to come and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot tied to the land that's also tied to the actual religion, right?
Yeah, but I feel like it's like taking a myth too far, honestly, because we have all sorts of myths in all religions.
Right.
And maybe they, like, I understand that maybe there's a reason that they take it too far because of like the whole exile thing, right? But like, you can't try to adapt like myths into the real modern world. I feel like too much.
Right. I mean, I could create a myth and say, oh, I deserve Rihanna's panties, right? I think that was a Chris Rock joke. Chris Rock made a joke, like said, I made up a story that said Rihanna's panties belong to me. And so You know, you can't just make up stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, some people say that the Bible is a history book, but a lot of it is myth. And to say that God came down and promised a man and his people that land and stuff like that's a myth. Like by definition, like we all have our religious beliefs, and that's not to discount any Jewish person's belief, but you know.
Yeah. Also that like, yes, you are free to believe in your religion and do whatever you want, like according to your religion, but it's not the only religion in the world.
Right.
Like you can do whatever you want unless it passes through that line that is like, you know, harming other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like, you know, I kind of feel like what is happening with the whole Zionist movement is that. And it's become more than religion because it's trying to invade other people's ideologies and religions.
Right.
You know.
But that's the kind of the genius of Zionism is that there's some practicality to it. Because like the Zionists say, you know, we're not religious Jews, but we're Jews regardless. It doesn't matter whether I practice my religion or not. If I live in Germany, one day a bunch of brown shirts can pop up and I can say, I don't even believe in Judaism. I don't care. They'll still say you're a dirty Jew and you have to die. You get what I'm saying? And so the practical thing is to be in a place, in a space that you can actually defend, protect, and make sure that your children will be safe, your wife will be safe, and the future generations that will come after you will be safe. And that has nothing to do with a book. That just has to do with practical human nature. If a people don't want to go extinct, they will defend their land. You get what I'm saying?
Of course. No, that is understandable. That is completely understandable. But the question is like, okay, I'm going to say this, but like, okay, that, how about like you actually take something that was like taken away. Okay, take something from the forces that took that thing away from you. So I'm thinking like...
Or take a piece of Germany?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Let's say like politically and like, you know, I guess economically as well, it has more benefits than like Israel, right? It's in the middle of Europe.
Right.
You'll have tourism, you'll have like, you know, all this like, I don't know, like
so you're saying
advancements that Germany has and things like that. So like,
it's too late now. All of Germany was taken by the Turks. They came too late. You can't.
No, that happened.
You can't have Bohemia now. It's called Bohemia.
Wow.
You can't have it now. You can't have it now. There's a mosque on every street. Sorry, you should have built your synagogues back in 1950.
Well, yeah, you should have.
Like, imagine like the Jews, like, you know what we should have done? We should have taken back Germany. Then they come back to Germany and people are just like, Mahaban, just waiting for him.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like kind of hypocritical to take another, like, I'm saying like around the world, Muslims are still like kind of discriminated, let's say in Europe and in America. So it feels very hypocritical to take a land that kind of shares the same suffering that you do in the world. Exactly.
But some people would say that suffering that the Arabs are going through is by their own creation because number one, they fought 3 or 4 wars with the Israelis and they lost each one. How do like 6 countries gang up on Israel? And even if Israel has the U.S. backing, they didn't always have U.S. backing. You know what I'm saying? That shows like the disorganization of the Arabs on one hand. And then on top of that, you know, the Arabs were given plans to, you know, give the Jews a little bit of land. You know what I mean? Like, I believe like in 1948 or something, the UN said, look, this could be the plan. There's an Arab side and it's most of the country will be Arab and the Jews just get a little section there. And they said, no, rightfully so though, understandably, because like, you know, somebody walks into my house and says, I'm just taking the bathroom. I'm like, boy, get out. You get what I'm saying? So I understand where they're coming from, but there's just been so much history where they just, you know, could have had another resolution, but it seems like, you know. Might makes
but
right.
that again says like survival of the fittest, because okay, so then like Ukraine and Russia is at war, and Ukraine sort of has NATO, I guess, but it's still like losing, and it's a much smaller, less powerful country, so they deserve to lose the war.
No, they don't deserve to lose the war. Whoever wins earns it, I would say.
That's a lot.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. Anyway.
I just think.
Anyway, I don't know if you want to say like more things about like, you know,
Israel
and Palestine, because I'm kind of over it. Someone left a comment.
Okay. So should I jump into this comment?
Oh, God, if you want to. Only if you care for it.
So this is Malik. Malik jumped into the comments and he said, "What do you have against Albania, bro? Zezak is not a bad word. Albanians refer to it as African brothers. Number one, if I were to come up to you, Malik, and say, fuck Albania, and I was to say in my country, we say fuck Albania because that means we love Albania, would you say that that's a good thing? A person gets to define who and what they are referred as. I, as a man, don't want to be reminded of my blackness. I am a human being first. So any slur or word that you create and say that does not mean what you think it means, you can't tell me what it means. Because, Malik, if I were to come up to you and say, fuck Malik, fuck your mother, fuck Albania, fuck your country, fuck your culture, fuck your nasty ass food, fuck pizza, fuck ice cream, fuck everything in Albania. And Malik, what I'm saying is actually not fuck Albania. What I'm saying to you is actually that I love Albania. You would say, no, you cannot say fuck Albania. But you cannot tell me that I have to accept your racial slur for black people, which is derived from a word that means slaves or chains. So I don't have any negative things towards Albania. I just think you, Malik, are very stupid. And a vast majority of your country is very stupid too, by how they reacted to that video. But I want to tell you, Malik, I want to tell you I love you in my language, in the words I use. And Malik, what I have to say is fuck Albania. Oh shit, somebody just dropped €5 for you. So you are welcome to Pakistan anytime. We look forward to having you. I would love to go to Pakistan. Yeah. You know, when I was in Miami, I went to a masjid and they fed me some samosas for the first time in a masjid in Miami from Pakistan. And boy, was it good. It was delicious. And I went to a country called Mauritius and ate a bunch of samosas, but I'll never forget the samosas that I ate at that masjid in Pakistan. Shout out to Pakistan. I hope my guy, Imran Khan, I like Imran Khan. I hope he's out of jail. Somebody let me know if Imran Khan is in jail or out of jail. Okay. All right. I'm getting people donate to you. Oh, thank you, Malik, for sending me money. Thank you for sending me money. And I want to show you more love, Malik, by saying fuck Albania.
He's on house arrest.
Who's on house arrest? Oh, Malik is, oh no, not Malik is on house arrest. He's talking about Imran Khan.
Yeah.
Their president. All right. So, okay. The comment section is going crazy right now. It's crazy. We've been on live for 2 hours now. Okay, this is a lie. So Malik is lying now and saying that there were never slaves in Albania, which is absolutely not true. There were slaves in Albania. There was the Arab slave trade that brought many black men to Albania, and they had their genitalia cut off. And the comment section is going crazy, but this is the thing. This is the thing about certain white people. They like it when actually they have a strong, powerful black man talking to them in a very demeaning way. So Malik, you are a liar. You're an idiot. And even though you are very negative things, you want to send people my way to give me money. Imagine how that is. Now I know how white men feel. They're like, damn, we do everything evil to black people and they still give us money and stuff like that. It's absolutely insane. Malik,
genetically.
Malik is actually insane, but I appreciate that because he's helping the algorithm. And I'll say it again. Yeah, Albania is a very disrespectful country to black tourists. As a person who went there with this beautiful woman right here, on our year-long honeymoon. I'm such a good black man. I took my wife on like a year-long honeymoon, and we went to like 4 different countries. And I came to Albania as a part of my honeymoon tour to spread more love to the world, to document a great experience. If you go to our second channel, Backpack Bandits, we have beautiful places. We have beautiful videos of our time in Mauritius, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Turkey, videos coming in Serbia soon.
And also Albania too.
And also Albania. My wife and I traveled to different countries to document and show love to different places. We never go to different places to actually show negative things. But Albania is the only country I've been to in the world where multiple times I go to multiple different cities, Tirana, Durrës, Berat, Vlorë, and in each city I am met with racial slurs. I have never had that happen, and this woman is with me every day of my life.
And every single day that we've been here. This wasn't like from time to time experience. This was like every single day.
Yeah.
Sometimes multiple times in one day. So
I went there to go to the beach, go to stores. And when you go to the store, when you go to the beach, thank you for more money. So I go to the store and somebody yells, "Fuck nigger." If you don't think that somebody yelling "fuck nigger" to somebody directly while they're just walking to the store is racist, then you're a racist. And Malik, I want to tell you once again, fuck Albania, because I love you. Because in my language, fuck means love. So fuck Albania and fuck you, Malik, because you're telling me that I need to accept being called nigger and zezak or zenchi and looking at blackface because that means positive things. Okay. There's talking about Pakistan is genetically superior to Albania. This is absolutely insane. And Malik, once again, is really stupid. Malik is really dumb because he thinks he watched one video where one person was disrespectful to me, but disregards the multiple other videos. In fact, the vast majority of the videos I released for Albania were positive, where I was playing football with the kids in the water, talking about the hip hop music, documenting the museums, documenting going to a drag race show where nothing bad happened at all. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares that I actually gave props to Albania for fighting white supremacy by hiding the Jewish community that wanted to be exterminated by the Nazis. Nobody cares about those positive things. But people get upset when a black man talks about the time he was called nigger, Nigger, in the streets multiple times. But somehow I'm wrong. Somehow I'm wrong. So once again, I send love to everybody in the language I know. If you say to me, nigger or zezak or zenchi means black brother, then fuck you, suck my dick, eat my ass, die, in my language means love to you. So Malik, fuck you, fuck your mama, fuck your daddy, fuck your brother, fuck everything you stand for, fuck your flag, fuck whatever you stand for, because in my language that means love. All right. So I'm gonna just smoke my cigarette and talk on the screen because this chat is insane.
It is very insane. And I'll just say this, like, from like most of the comments that come from Albanians, they seem to have this sort of, imaginary friendship with Black culture and community. They always say, oh, we're the real Black people. And, we love Black people. We can never be racist and things like that. And if you really do love Black people, if you love Black culture, if you think that you own Brooklyn, if you think like hip hop is, your hardcore, like love and all of the things, if you really love Tupac and all of that, I think you should take the time to listen to how, certain people in your country makes a Black person feel, because he's telling you, and all you have to do is like accept it and apologize for it. And you don't have to argue about it. And that is like a more noble thing to do. No one is saying like, Albanians are the worst people in the world or anything like that. He's just saying that he had the most racist experiences in Albania. And if you really love Black people that much, then listen to a Black people who's telling you how he felt in your country, so that maybe you can raise the next generations better, since it's genetically passed down to be racist.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say genetically, it's culturally passed down.
Yeah,
because
I was joking like him. Like Malik said, it was genetically passed down. The Z word. But yeah,
they're honestly not that bright. But this is like a good example that there's so much money to be made off of people who have very low IQs. And while I'm very happy that this brother here is donating to my channel, I appreciate that. I've never gotten British pounds before. Oh, I need to drink some tea.
Wow.
I wish I wasn't using it as an ashtray. But this is actually very interesting to have people so riled up about the experiences of one Black man. You know, there are other Black travelers who went to Albania and their videos don't get any views. Why is that? Why are these people so attracted to negativity? I think it's not they're attracted to negativity. I think it's because they're attracted to truth. The truth is, I exposed that in Albania, there is rampant anti-Black racism. There is never an excuse to yell, fuck niggers to anybody in the street. There is never an excuse to, when you see somebody who looks different than you, to harass them, stare at them, take pictures of them, that sort of stuff. There is nothing that I did wrong. There is nothing that my wife did wrong. There is nothing that was in my demeanor, my behavior, my characteristics as a person that made me deserve to be disrespected in your country. And the proof is in every single video that I released. This woman is here with me. She has no reason to lie because we have very little to gain other than 2 British pounds, 2 pence. We have no reason to lie. We didn't make our videos to gain a money or attention or anything like that. I create my content for Black travelers and that sort of stuff. It's okay. They are very hilarious. But I want to ask you this. AKDI, did I not show the good, bad, and ugly of all of our trips that we've done?
Yeah, you did. And not specifically for Albania too, by the way. For
Yeah.
We were in Africa before we went to Albania. And there's a video in Simon's channel, like, critiquing Tanzania because of the things that he saw that he didn't like. That was anti-Black in Tanzania, an African nation. So, like, you can chill. This is not only for you. Nobody's coming for Albania.
Right.
You know, he's just talking about his experience like he did in any other place.
Right. But see, people like Malik, they'll never have that. Nothing will ever get through to them, right? Because they're caught up in this idea that because we didn't own slaves, which is not true, but even if it were true that they didn't own slaves, that somehow that excuses racism that happens today. I can say this. I've never hurt a gay person. I've never seen a gay person and started yelling anti-gay slurs at them when I've seen them on the bus, the clubs, trains, anything like that. But I can still say that America is very homophobic. I can say that I've never, seen a woman and just started yelling, A, B word. I never did that. Mm-hmm. But I can still say that America is sexist. Yeah. I've never hated anybody. I can't hate white people. My wife is white, as you see. She's beautiful. But I can still admit that America is racist. Yeah. Not just against Black people, but against all groups of people. But because these people are so sensitive and they can't think outside of themselves, they just have to be so defensive about things that are not even personal to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Same with me. Like, I can admit that Turkish people can be very racist, can stare at Black people, can assume very stereotypical things towards Black people. And I can admit that Turkey is a racist country, and I still love my country, and I am Turkish.
Right.
Like, it's fine to admit things, and it makes us work for the future, you know?
Right.
So it's okay. Like,
right.
Nobody's coming for the greatness of Albania. Honestly, people don't even really know where it is. So you can chill.
Now we have a very, very good question now. We have a question that relates to our topic at the beginning of the stream. Malik said, as a Muslim, you should know you don't like gay people. So you like gay people, he says, as a Muslim, you like them. And that goes back to the topic we started off at the beginning, Islamophobia, the problems within Islam and stuff like that. I'll keep it very simple for Malik, because Malik is a person who has like 2 or 3 brain cells and can't comprehend things that are very large. But I'll say this. As a Muslim, your primary duty is to follow the laws of the Quran. There is not one law in the Quran or in the Sunnah that says hate gay people. There's nothing in there that says be homophobic. There's nothing in there in the Quran that says that you should discriminate against other people. Nothing like that at all. Maybe in your Islam, and you're welcome to practice Islam however you feel, but when I read the Quran front and back 2 times, and when I studied Surah Al-Bah, oh my God, the Sirah, when I studied the Sirah, there was nothing in there that says hate. The Prophet dealt with people that literally hated him. The Quraysh wanted to kill them, and he never once said, I want to kill the Quraysh. The Prophet dealt with people that wanted to destroy all the Muslims when there were only like 50 Muslims. And the Prophet never said that he wanted to hate those people or that those people should be killed. The Prophet did not hate the Jewish people. The Prophet did not hate the Christians. The Prophet showed us that the best of us are the most forgiving, the most kind, and the most merciful, even for people that are very, very opposed to us. The important thing is that I'm not gay. I don't practice homosexuality. I have a beautiful wife, and we have very halal, sexy, sweaty sex. And this is all blessed by God. I follow the Sharia my way, okay? And yeah, that's what I have to say. That's what I have to say. You should not hate anybody if you are a Muslim. If you're going to come in this live stream, this is a non-hate zone. We don't hate Albanians. We don't hate gay people, even though there are a lot of gay Albanians. There are a lot of gay Albanians. And we don't hate Christians. We don't hate Jewish people. We don't hate white people. We don't hate black people. We don't disrespect other people either. I'm teaching basic morals and basic ethics and basic things that your father or your mother should have taught you, Malik, or other people. But because they didn't teach you, I'll teach you this. Respect other people, love other people, be nice and kind to other people, don't be rude. And those are basic things that you should get. And yes, that does coincide with my Islam. And I am still a Muslim. Alhamdulillah. All right.
Sorry, I was trying to send a link for Malik so he can get a bit educated. But my
about
link,
what?
About slavery in Albania.
Yeah.
But I'll post it down in the normal comments if you want to check it, Malik, and
He won't.
actually learn.
The thing is about Malik.
It won't show up in the live chat.
Really? You can't send the link? It won't let you?
No.
You can put it in the normal comment section right now.
I'll try.
Yeah. But either way, Malik is a person who won't read anyway, because Malik obviously has never read a book. He's probably never spoken to a black person at all or anything like that. And he's probably only interacted with the idea of black people as being entertainers, rappers, people that are meant to shuck and jive and tap dance on screen for him or play sports for his entertainment. But he's not used to dealing with intellectuals and that sort of stuff. So Malik is a person who is probably very sad. But, you know, this goes to show that everything I said in my video was true. Okay. So, yeah, of course, now the Albanians are subscribing to my channel. They're subscribing to my channel.
I can't put the link now, but I'll put it after the live chat. And if anyone is interested about reading the history of black slaves and What?
I think you could put it in the other side. No?
There's no
other side.
I can't reach it right now, but anyone who's interested can look at after the live chat.
Okay. All right. Well, it will be in the live chat here. Shout out to Magic Man for coming in. The longer we stay on live, the more people pile in. But shout out to you, Magic Man. And Magic Man gets it, even though his English is broken. He says that word is not a good word. And listen, people have the right to be offended about what they want to be offended about. Gay people used to accept when people called them queer, right? But now they don't because that's a slur, right? If I were to tell Malik, he's a dirty, sweaty, nasty, belly button showing motherfucker in the summer, and then I were to tell him, oh, Malik, I just mean that in a nice way.
Oh, see, look at Magic Man.
mean?
He has like basic, level of sensibility where he can like Google the word and actually look at the meaning, which is what most Albanians don't do, and they just make up meanings for it.
Right. But yeah. Okay. Well, Malik is still convinced because Malik is a white black man. Malik is a white black man who can now tell black people what words mean, because that's not racist at all.
You can't be something you don't respect, Malik. And you do not respect black people or black culture or black life. So
okay.
And also, just to say, like, you said to us that this word is not a bad word, and then you just use it here in a condescending way.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just all over the place. You're all over the place.
He's all over the place. But this is the first time in my channel history where a crazy racist jumps into my chat and I didn't block him. And I feel like I've grown. I feel like I've gotten better.
Yeah, you
did. And I want to encourage Malik to send more friends this way, to send super chats and donations, because we greatly appreciate it. I'm going to be studying here at a university here in Budapest, so every dollar counts, going towards my tuition. If you don't like, black people coming to your countries, just keep me here by paying for my tuition here. That would be great. And
God.
Yeah. So anyway, Magic Man is a very cool guy. All right, so here we go. An interesting comment. 412-8190. Okay, this sounds like a phone number for like a hotline. What are the best countries in the world for black men? Have you thought about visiting Bermuda, Cayman Islands, or any of the wealthier countries, territories, islands that are majority black? That is a very good question. 412. I'll just call you 412. So I did a long time ago visit Jamaica with my parents on a cruise. That was nice. I did not get to travel the way I like to travel now. I had a friend from the Turks. I had a friend from Turks and Caicos, and he was very cool. He said it was a great place to visit, and I would love to go there too. And yeah, my mother is from Belize, so I traveled to Belize and went there a few times. And those are very nice experiences and stuff like that. And yeah, I'll just say this. I would love to travel to every country on the planet. And that was originally my goal when I started like my channel and just working online and stuff like that. But what changed is that now I'm studying in university, and I plan on doing that until I get my degrees up, because I really want to, just increase my education level. But I would love to visit there as well. The primary goal of my travels is not just to find a place where I can just ball out, be happy. No, be happy is important, right? But not just find a place where I can just like live a luxurious life. I want to live a happy life, but I'm also looking for a place free of like anti-black racism and white supremacy, right? And I'm not saying that this is in the Caribbean, but from my experience in Africa, even if a place has all black people, there can still be anti-blackness and white supremacy. When I went to Tanzania with this beautiful woman here, of course she's hot, but people are trying to holler at her just because she's white. And people were saying some very anti-black things. And then you also find whitening soap being sold there in places like in Zanzibar.
More internalized racism.
Yeah, there can be a lot of internalized racism. And for me, the best thing, I just want to be a place where I'm happy, safe, and also where my blackness will not get me harassed in the streets like in Albania, but also where I can live my full life and be who I want to be without other people dictating how I should be. So I'm going to jump into the next comment. JS Venture says, come to Cape Verde. I would love to come to Cape Verde. That is like top 10 destinations because island nation right off the coast of Africa. I hear they always have Mediterranean weather year round. I heard it's not that expensive too. I just don't know any Portuguese other than obrigado. Okay. So Aegis says, block this dude. He's polluting the comments. My guy Avery Adams is the moderator on my channel, and he's usually here. But he's not here to show up and actually show out. And I don't know who this other guy here is. Okay.
It's our Pakistani friend.
It's our Pakistani friend. Yeah. Either way, this was the craziest live stream. It's the longest live stream.
Magic Man said, what is your favorite location?
Oh, favorite location? That's very, very hard. My favorite location. I guess
like your overall favorite country.
Every
black man.
Every country has been a unique experience for me. Every country has been a unique experience, and I wouldn't not do it all over again. The time of my life that was just like, I guess, the most impactful place I ever went was Tunisia. The most impactful place I went was Tunisia, but the place that shocked me the most was Indonesia. Because going to Indonesia is 360 million degrees different than how I grew up in Louisiana, what I had ever experienced before or experienced since, but every place has been amazing. Simon, your review of The Handmaid was fired. Deep review. Wow, I didn't even know people actually heard that already. We did that this morning. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm glad that you liked it. I kind of felt like when we were reviewing it that I was messing it up in the beginning. I felt like I was messing it up, but I'm glad y'all liked that review.
And please give us recommendations of your favorite movies so we can watch them and review them as well.
Yeah. Send more movies. We plan on doing a lot of movie reviews. We're doing Jungle Fever, hopefully tonight. I'm not tired.
Are you? No.
Okay, we're going to watch Jungle Fever and do a review of that. All right, y'all got the ads. You got their ads right now. Unless you got YouTube Premium. Okay, The Matrix, of course, I've seen The Matrix, but I wouldn't mind watching it again. Matrix is deep. 412 says, do you have any experience visiting Japan? I've heard lots of positive experience there from Blacks, especially Black Americans. I would love to visit Japan as well. Japan is definitely on my list. A lot of Black Americans go there because we have a military base there. And that's a lot of Black men's exposure to Asia and the Eastern world and just being outside of America. The number one thing I would like to do in Japan, I guess, just walk around Tokyo and just stumble into weird places. What's something you would want to do in Japan?
I work with Japanese people and I teach them English, and I usually ask them what is one thing I should do if I come to Japan? And they say that Tokyo is kind of like a walkable city. So that's probably what I would do. And they also, one guy said they have a lot of those electric scooters. So maybe rent one of them and then just go around the city and eat Japanese food here and there and just enjoy. And also a lot of people recommend Kyoto as well because it's a bit more historical and a lot more culture there than Tokyo. So
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so much to do in Japan, so much to see, so many places to go. It would be great. Okay. All right. Where would you raise Black or half Black children? Have you decided yet? That is a very, very deep question. And that's something that we probably should do on a live with AKDI.
I mean, I guess we discussed it in one of our lives where we were talking where we were rating our places that we've been to. And we did something similar, but that is a good question. And honestly, I don't think we have that place yet.
Yeah.
But that's also a thing that is on my mind because obviously now I want my husband to feel he's relaxed and not stressed all the time. And I don't want to be in a hateful society also because most of the time racist societies are also Islamophobic and other types of discriminatory places. So that, and then also obviously if we have children, Like, I want my children to love their Blackness and, not be, just consenting to, especially like if I have like girls and stuff like that, I wouldn't want them to consent to just like European beauty standards and things like that.
Yeah.
And and for that, like, Africa is a good place, but I don't know if we have a particular country in Africa that we like.
A part of me
yet.
Okay. A part of me is like, this might sound crazy. Shout out to AA for our Pakistan is your favorite people. Now they are. Now they are. A part of me is like, a part of me maybe will return to the US. Part of me, because I feel like in some ways being Black in the US is one of the best places to be Black. Now, hear me out. I've said a lot of times that the US has a lot of problems. We have violent anti-Black racism, and it's very likely there will be another mass shooting terrorist attack that attacks our people specifically, right? But in other ways, there is no other community of Black people on the planet that love Black people the way Black Americans do, or at least have that culture deep enough in them. From my experience, I thought it would be like that in Kenya or in Tanzania and stuff like that. I was expecting not like super pro-Black people, but at least, not that sort of white supremacist brainwashing that does exist. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that all of Africa is like that, because Africa is a big place. And I have met some Africans who have been woke and they are conscious and they're not on that type of time. You get what I'm saying? I just feel like at sometimes I'm like, in Europe, you have the beauty of, how can I say this, societies that are safe, even though there might be anti-Black racism subtly or explicitly. And in the US, you have a community of Black folks who are not bought into white supremacy and the mindset that washes their brain to make them hate their Blackness. By and large, we have our Coons, we have our Candace Owens, our Clarence Thomases and stuff like that. But we don't have bleaching cream. We don't have whitening soap. We have, of course, the girls, some Black women wear weaves, sew-ins, wigs, and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know any Black woman who does it the way that you might see an African woman do it or a Caribbean woman do it. No shots to any of y'all if y'all are Caribbean and stuff like that. But, there is that undercurrent of pro-Blackness within Black American society. And I'm sorry I'm ranting, but a part of me is like, nigga, don't go back to the US because you're Black American and you know exactly what to tell them to prepare them to be Black in this world, even if they're half Black. You get what I'm saying? So that's all that's on my mind about that. Do you have anything you want to say?
I mean, I do have my doubts about America because of the, gun violence and things like that. And certainly, like, I don't want to have the fear of sending my child to school and having a probability of her or him getting shot at school. That's insanely crazy for me. I don't want to, I don't want to raise kids in Turkey as well, because currently it is an anti-Black society. So I wouldn't want them to experience that type of society either. So like I said, like, I don't know where yet. I don't know.
Okay. So I'll jump into another comment. JS Ventress says, watch The Animatrix. It's a sequel to The Matrix that no one knows. I saw The Animatrix a long time ago. The scariest scene is when the robot tears that man's penis out, when the robot and human war happens, and then also when they slice a human in half and then they're poking at his nerves. Do you remember that?
I didn't watch it.
Oh, The Animatrix is intense. It caused nightmares for me. I was scared of computers for like a week. I didn't touch a keyboard. I'm scared of this computer right now. We should be deathly afraid of AI. AI might kill us all. Do you know how Black experiences in Russia compared to the US? So there are actually quite a few Black people in Moscow, at least, and some in St. Petersburg. And of course, anywhere in the world, you will find a random Nigerian. You could be in the middle of Kazakhstan and a Nigerian brother is there. One of the funniest comments I've ever heard was from a Nigerian who said, if you go somewhere and there are no Nigerians, run. So I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of black people in Russia. Uh, the stories I've heard is that, yeah, they get it. Russia is like Albania in the sense that they will yell racial slurs at you, no problem. And they will turn up on you, no problem too. And sometimes they'll get violent too, because they have Nazis out there, like real neo-Nazis out there in Russia. Because wherever you find poor white people, you find hatred for black people. And it doesn't matter if there are literally no black people around. So yeah, there's also some good experiences I've heard from people, black people who go to Russia. They start businesses, go there and study. One of their greatest writers, Pushkin, was related to a black man. Literally, one of the greatest writers in Russian history, and any Russian will tell you this, was half black. And as well, there was another great general. His name was Ganibal. Ganibal was one of the generals for Ivan the Terrible, I believe. If not Ivan the Terrible, one of the Ivans. And yeah, he was a very influential part. So there's a deep black history in Russia, but you might not know. You might not know about it. All right. So X says, do y'all F with Arab people? I love Arab people. My first wife was Arab, because this is the bar people like to set. I can't be racist. I have black friends. Well, I can't be racist. I done smashed plenty of Arabs. I'm sorry. That's why I got smacked. But no, I love Arab people. I love the Arabic language. Ana takalam al Arabi, ismi Simon, ana ahab al lugat al Arabi. Okay, that's all I have to say. Have you thought about visiting Fiji? Yes. F412. Any country you name, I want to go. Especially if you're naming like Fiji. Of course, I want to visit Fiji. Duh. Who doesn't want to visit Fiji? Papua New Guinea. I was very close to Papua New Guinea. They are black as hell. They are Asian people that look just like me in Papua New Guinea. It's crazy. Or any of the Melanesian countries. Do you know how the Blacks, Africans, or Black Americans are treated there? Do they blend in with the Melanesians? One of the people that I listen to a lot, Tariq Nasheed, recently went to Fiji on a trip, and he took pictures with the Fiji people, like him taking a selfie with like random Fiji people he met, and they look literally just the same. And I had an experience just like that when I was in Jakarta, Indonesia. I went to a masjid to pray, and I swear to God, there was a brother. He looked just like he was from Detroit. And he came up to me, and I was expecting him to speak perfect English. And then he starts speaking like Indonesian language. And I'm like, nigga, what the fuck? What happened to you? How long you been here? Did they strand you here during the war? But they look, the crazy thing is, of course, we are the first people on the planet. Black people literally are older than humanity. Like, well, we're as old as humanity. The first people, and I've covered this on the live stream before, to jump on every single continent were black people. And if you look at the DNA strands of every black person on the planet, they are the oldest DNA strands on the planet. So when we look at the Austronesians, the Aboriginals of Australia, the Papua New Guineans, the Melanesian people of the different islands in the Pacific, what you are looking at are, a mirror to humanity 100,000 years ago, literally. And that's insane to think about. Okay, Ozzy finally jumped into the chat. He said, hello, Simon and Acti. Ozzy said, that's a great point, Simon. As bad as America is, it's probably the best place in the world for black people to reach their full potential to some degree. To some degree. Man, it's so crazy because I imagine my life like this, right? I imagine I go back to America and get back involved in the struggle against American white supremacy and trying to make a better America, right? Because I actually do love my country, but I do think our country is messed up in the sense that we don't live up to our potential. Or I can live my life in Switzerland and deal with subtle German racism, which is this compared to the Mississippi, this. You get what I'm saying? The Mississippi, this got this. And the German, this got this. And I can deal with this. So 412, do you often get upset about how blacks don't have wealthier sovereign nations like Singapore, Japan, China, etc., where they are the majority, or do they exist? So every black African nation is wealthy. The number one producer of gold in the world is Ghana. The nation with the most diamonds in the world is Botswana. Most African nations have great weather year-round to allow tourists to come. Most African nations have vast mineral resources right under their feet. So every nation in the world technically is wealthy. Uh, the problem is that we live in an exploitative capitalistic world where a few people extract the resources of the many to make themselves richer. And this isn't only applying to Black people. Turkey is a wealthy nation. Turkey has a lot of things that could make every single Turkish person live like they're in Sweden or Switzerland. But what we have in Turkey and in Congo is a very small minority of people who extract the wealth. Now, if we're talking about the standard of living and that sort of stuff, what I'm saying is that yes, it does disappoint me that Black people in Black nations do have so much mineral wealth and opportunity to actually have nations that are the best in the world, but their leaders are corrupt, easily exploited, and some people have a culture. You know what? I'm taking that culture part out because that would be me saying that they have something deficient in them, and that's not true. But what I'm saying is that there's exploitation happening in Africa right now. There's neocolonialism happening in Africa right now. I did a live stream where I talked about how the world owes Africa money, not in just for reparations. I'm talking about literally right now, more wealth is extracted out of Africa and brought into different nations, making them wealthy than the other way around. Then the other way around. Africa could be an entirely self-sufficient place without the rest of the world, but the world would not be able to exist without Africa. Taiwan is the number one semiconductor manufacturer in the planet. Our computers, our iPhones would not work without semiconductors all in them. But the semiconductors would not work without the cobalt and the uranium and the other minerals that come from Congo, Guinea, Niger, etc. Okay, 412 is asking some very dope questions, and I'm finally glad I got smart people in the chat. I went through like a good 10 minutes of Malik in here, and now I got a smart person named 412 in the chat. But all comments will get answered. Is building a modern day Wakanda your main goal in life? No, because I can't build a city by myself. I want to live my life the best I can. I want to be a good person while I'm here on this earth. I want to make positive changes on this earth. I want to be happy, free, and Black and not have other people dictate how I live my life while on this earth. But building a Wakanda, no. I would like to see a Wakanda, and I would contribute to that project if it did exist. But no, it's not my goal. My goal is to live happy. What is your opinion about China collaboration with African nations compared to Western countries? These are very dope questions. These are all video essay questions. Every question here, but my opinion about China collaborating with Africa, I believe it's right now very exploitative. Right now, a lot of these African nations are getting loans from Chinese companies, and what they do is that they don't hire local Africans usually. They import Chinese workers to come build a port in Tanzania. They import Chinese workers to build the railroads and stuff like that. And if they do hire African labor, it's at very, very low pay. That's exploitative, and that's not cool. I do think that China in itself does not see Africa as an equal. They see it as a place to guarantee their resources for the future and that sort of stuff. So do you think AI will achieve human-like consciousness? Human-like consciousness, no, because humans are afraid of death, and our consciousness is based upon our knowledge that it will cease to exist. But if AI has consciousness, it will always exist, so it will not be human-like consciousness. It will be a different type of consciousness. Do you want to jump on that?
No, it's okay.
All right, are you bored?
I'm a bit tired.
I can do this all day.
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry. You should watch We Are Who We Are, military base in Italy. Bisexual daughter, Muslim stepson, but father is a Black Trump supporter and lesbian neighbor that takes his job. I think you saw that show, right?
No, I didn't. I actually added to my list because I saw the comment.
Oh, really? I've heard of that show. I've literally heard of that show before, and a lot of people really liked it. Here's another question here. Is colonization and exploitation the main reason why Blacks Africans don't become CEOs or leaders in African countries, while Middle East Asian not having the same problem? Colonization and exploitation definitely has a major impact on our current standing. But I don't understand what you're saying. Blacks and Africans don't become CEOs, because that's not true. There are tons of Black CEOs, African CEOs of African and Black companies. And there are some Black people who become CEOs of white-owned companies in the US and that sort of stuff, and around the world. Go ahead.
But I think this was also like another thing that you were kind of complaining about when we were in Africa, that you were saying like, every business we go to, it's either by an Indian man or like a Middle Eastern person or something like that. So
okay, all right, I get what if that's what you mean, like within Africa, like the majority of the businesses are owned by like what we would describe as non-Africans or foreigners, right? If that's the thing, I think that's an extension of colonialism. That is like neo-colonialism, because a lot of the Arabs, the Chinese, the Indians, they come in to Africa with connections and with money. And so they're able to take advantage of resources that they have. Meanwhile, the Africans who have been there didn't have those resources, because many of them, it was stolen from them and stuff like that. All right. I think that's a big part. But there are plenty of Black CEOs, African CEOs. There are a ton of rich Black folks. I know what that's supposed to mean, because there's a ton of rich and successful Black folks. 412, you mentioned before that Black-owned companies are non-existent in Tanzania. Yeah. From what I saw, almost all the hotels and Airbnbs we stayed, they did not seem to have Black owners. Yes. But I thought you were talking about CEOs. I thought you were trying to lean into like, why isn't a Black man the CEO of Disney? I was like, well, I don't know. But if you're talking about in Africa, yeah, that's once again an extension of colonialism. Okay. So Ozzy says, even though he's no longer here, what are your thoughts on Idi Amin? Okay, we're going deep. I think Idi Amin made a fatal flaw by kicking out the Indians. I do think Idi Amin was a great leader to help Uganda gain its independence, and that was a beautiful thing. But the problem is what we saw in the 20th century. Many of the revolutionaries made horrible government leaders. What I wish happened is like Fidel kicked out the Americans and the Batista government, and then set up like some nerdy guy to be like the new president of Cuba. What I wish Idi Amin did is like kick out the British and then retire as a war hero and let some nerdy guy be the president of Uganda. And yeah, a lot of the guys who run Africa now and back then were just military men with no education, no idea about how to run governments. And that's what I think. That's just my opinion, though. J.S. Ventures, would you agree that modern pre-colonial arguments, having taken a progressive ideology tone, like when people criticize Islam because Muslim countries tend to be more conservative? I am so confused by that. Would you agree that modern pre-colonial arguments have taken a progressive ideology tone, like when people criticize Islam because of Muslim countries?
I think he's trying to say that like colonial powers were like not conservatives, and that's why they excelled.
Okay.
And then like other countries, like Muslim countries, were conservative, so they couldn't keep up with that sort of like colonialist achievement, I guess.
I'm confused by that. I'll jump into the next question. How do you see albino Blacks or Africans? Do you see them not as having the same experience as you? No one Black person has the same experience, but they have a unique experience. And I think albinos face a number of challenges. Some albinos growing up in all Black nations get faced with discrimination because they are different. Some people think they're cursed. Some people like kill them because they're albino and stuff like that. If you're an albino in an all or a majority white nation, you might face a different set of discrimination that you go through. And that's an experience that would require a lot of thinking, and also me talking to an albino person. That I think I've only spoken to one Black albino person in my whole life.
Yeah. And also, like, the first time I saw like a Black albino person was in Tanzania, actually. Mm-hmm. And they also like, they don't look white either.
You can tell they're Black.
Yeah, like they have the same like, facial features or coarse hair and things like
and hair
that.
Texture.
So yeah, hair texture. So Like, it's not like they look, you know, acceptably white and that sort of like, you know.
Yeah, they also have Niash.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a long stream. This is a very interesting stream, very crazy stream. This is the most active chat ever. Also, shout out to the donations. Shout out to AA for jumping in. Shout out. No, I don't want to leave. All right, cancel. Okay. 412 says, do you know how East Africans, Somali, Ethiopians, Eritrea treat West African looking people? I guess Black American and Melanesians would appear West African to them. I have heard that some East Africans have a superiority complex to the Bantu people or the Black Africans, what we consider traditional Black Africans, because many East Africans have features that some people might describe as Arab or European, right? High cheekbones, aquiline noses, lighter skin, and that sort of stuff. 3C hair, but I do not think it's as widespread as the internet will make us believe. If you go online, you might see a lot of diaspora wars back and forth between Black people that look like me and Black people from East Africa, but I don't think it's that big. I do think there is some cultural differences, though. All right, Cape Verdeans dislike West Africans. Interesting. I think a lot of the Cape Verdeans are mixed. There was a lot of pillaging of the Black woman's body, I believe, during colonialism in Cape Verde, because Cape Verde, I believe, was unpopulated until they imported many Black Africans from the continent. And then the Europeans had their way with Black African women. They couldn't resist the Niash. So that's maybe why, because unfortunately, in a lot of places other than America, because in America we had the 1 drop rule where if you had 1 drop of Black blood, you were Black. We didn't have this idea about there's coloreds, and then we have light-skinned Black people, then we have Negroes. We didn't have all this distinction. We were all Black. We were all facing the enemy. So that's why we're on code, that's why we're unified. That's why you don't see some of the things that you'll see in other countries. Does Obama not have the same Black experience as Kamala Harris based on looks alone? I believe they both had similar Black experiences, but unique Black experiences because they were mixed Black people. That's what I would say. That's what I would say about that. Very interesting questions here. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you guys come back for the next live stream. I'm glad that you guys think I am intelligent enough to handle your very deep philosophical and social questions. I'm studying sociology at the university here, or I will start, and I hope to become even more educated on these topics to give you even more insight. And I'm glad you guys really want to talk to me. I am very, very, very humbled right now. Very humbled right now. And 412, this will be the last one. Do South Indians sometimes what did you say, count as Black to you? Okay. No, they are not Black.
I just remember that picture with 50 Cent and all that.
There are some very dark-skinned South Indians, but no, I don't consider them Black. Number one, Black is a social construct, like all race is in itself, but Black also deals with the phenotypical appearances. I do think that they would go through anti-Blackness because the discrimination against people of darker skin tones is essentially anti-Blackness in play, in my opinion. Ozzy says, you're going to university in Hungary. Yes, I am starting to study in university here in Hungary. I hope to become an educated man, to come back here and be even smarter and maybe even go back and change America. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm going to wrap this up. You guys are amazing. This has been a wild, wild ride. Shout out to my wife, who's the absolute best. I love her.
I love you too.
You're the best.
You're the best.
All right. Next stream is every Sunday. We come live every Sunday live with AKDI. You can also catch me on X, Laji M. Riki. Follow me on Twitter. Laji M. Riki, American refugee in Arabic. And we do movie reviews there, but you can also come on there and just talk to us about anything. I'll also be doing some other videos about other stuff. I also write. I am a writer, guys. I write music reviews. So go to this channel, check out Culturalist Theory, check out the video I did for Joe Budden, check out the video I did for Big Crit, check out the video I did for Mystical. Check out the video I did for, they're skipping my mind right now. I did somebody else that was very cool. It was like an R&B artist. Oh, I did one for Khalees. I am a writer. I'm a proud writer, and I love hip hop. I love hip hop. And if you love hip hop, you'll love the writing I did on culturalist theory.
Also, check our other channel, Backpack Bandits.
Oh,
we
yeah.
do travel content. You can see us in Turkey, in Georgia, in Africa, in Mauritius, in Tanzania, and now we're in Kenya. And also, like, other content will come in the Balkans and also Hungary as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All live streams are in the live section of this YouTube channel. Every live stream that I've ever done with this lovely woman is up there. And yeah, this will be recorded. You can watch it on the playback. And remember, guys, we always watch everything on what? 2X. Just blow right through it. All right. Peace.